That's why it's so important that we keep easing the cost of living, keep acting on that. That's why we're raising the minimum wage, it's why we're capping bus fares, it's why we're extending free school meals, and it's why the stability that's allowed 5 interest rate cuts since the election is so important.
Kneecap star Moana is appearing in court for allegedly supporting a proscribed terror organisation. Hundreds of supporters greeted the rapper with cheers as he made his way into court today. He's accused of displaying a flag in support of terror group Hezbollah at a gig in November last year. In response, the rap group described this move as a calculated political decision that was designed, they say, to try and portray support for Kneecap as somehow troublesome. The Kremlin has played down any talk of an imminent summit between the Russian president and Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky as Donald Trump renewed his call for the two leaders to meet to discuss ending the war in Ukraine. The push for a bilateral meeting comes after the US president met Putin in Alaska last week, welcomed 7 European leaders and Zelensky to the White House on Monday. Mr. Trump admitted the conflict was a tough one to solve and conceded it was possible the Russian president was not interested in ending hostilities. He said yesterday, we're going to find out about President Putin in the next couple of weeks. He says it's possible that he doesn't want to make a deal. Putin faced a rough situation if that were the case, Mr. Trump added. A TV advert for Sanex shower gel, which showed black skin as cracked and white skin as smooth, has been banned for reinforcing a racial stereotype. The ad shows 2 models with dark skin. One has itchy skin, the other has dry skin, followed by a white woman with no skin problems. The Advertising Standards Authority upheld 2 complaints which said the depiction of dark skin as dry, cracked and itchy could be interpreted as suggesting that white skin was superior to black skin. Colgate Palm Olive, which owns Sanex, said it used models with different skin colours as part of its commitment to diversity. Liverpool star Mohamed Salah has won a record 3rd Professional Footballers Association Men's Player of the Year award, with Arsenal's Mariona Caldente collecting the women's accolade. The 33-year-old Egypt international scored 29 goals and provided 18 assists as the Reds stormed to the last season's Premier League title. Meanwhile, 29-year-old Caldente moved to Arsenal last summer and scored 19 goals in all competitions, including 8 on the Gunners' way to lifting the Champions League trophy with a victory in the final against her former club Barcelona. And finally, the Royal Mint has announced the final batch of Queen Elizabeth II £1 coins are entering circulation across the UK. More than 23 million Queen coins are being released alongside 7.5 million new King Charles III £1 coins. The Royal Mint said the last of the Elizabeth II coins dated 2022 are the rarest £1 coins in active circulation. And those are the latest headlines for now. More in half an hour.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GBNews Financial Report.
And here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy you $1.3502 and €1.1601. The price of gold is £2,463.48 per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 9,178 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GBNews Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 9 minutes past midday, and councils across England are poised to take legal action now to remove migrants from their hotels in their areas. This after the High Court granted an injunction stopping asylum seekers from being housed at the Bell Hotel in Epping.
Yes, the Reform leader, Nigel Farage, was particularly jubilant after the ruling, pledging that all Reform-led councils will do everything in their power to follow Epping's lead.
However, the ruling presents the Home Office with a fresh headache. Not only do they now need to find new accommodation for the migrants who were housed in the Bell Hotel, but the ruling has shone a fresh spotlight on whether the government is doing enough to stop the small boats crossing the English Channel in the first place. OK, well, we're joined now by GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White, who is in Epping for us. He was outside the High Court yesterday for this shock ruling. Mark, what is the latest?
Well, no protesters here outside the Bell Hotel today, Emily. I think you and that force of nature that's your husband, Patrick, maybe tired them out last night with Patrick's multiple conducting renditions of Rule Britannia. Who knows, they may turn up a bit later on today. They're certainly very happy. We've had quite a lot of vehicles passing here, tooting their horns, shouting out their support as they pass. It's clear that many people in this town are mightily relieved and feel really quite jubilant. They don't know, of course, what the days and weeks ahead will bring, but for now they see victory, a victory of people power, because although as a collective media we've been focused on the Bell Hotel in recent weeks because of a number of incidents that have been linked to migrants here at this hotel, incidents of criminality that are now going through the court system. Actually, for the people in this Essex town, they've been protesting about this hotel's use to house asylum seekers since 2020, when under the Conservative government it was first used as an asylum seeking hotel. They protested then, it was closed down, restarted again, closed down eventually under the Conservatives, only to be reopened under Labour, and we are now where we find ourselves with finally that court decision of a temporary injunction that will allow the local authority here to ensure that this hotel is emptied of asylum seekers by the 12th of September, so less than a month's time. Now, having said that, it is possible that the Home Office, the contractors on behalf of the Home Office, might seek to appeal that injunction decision that was handed down, although the judge did not give Somani Hotels, that looks after and owns this particular hotel, leave to appeal. There's always other avenues of appeal open, potentially to the Court of Appeal. So we'll have to watch this very carefully over the coming days to see what the Home Office does, because there are big ramifications for the Home Office going forward, with Nigel Farage rallying the troops, his local authorities, 10 local authorities, telling them to look now at bringing similar legal challenges around migrant hotels in their local authority areas. So, as I say, big potential ramifications for the Home Office, and potentially very likely that they are going to try to either appeal this, or certainly when we have the more substantive hearing for the judicial review over the use of the Bell Hotel in the autumn, being represented there and trying to fight it at that point.
Mark, why did this time it work when we'd seen challenges from local authorities in previous years, trying to get hotels closed down, trying to win injunctions in previous years because of the lack of planning permission and all the rest of it, that simply failed in the courts? Why did this one succeed, and did it have anything at all to do with the asylum seekers who have been charged with offences, charges which of course they deny?
I'd like to say I know, but I haven't got a clue, to be honest. Decades of being in and out of courts, it's folly to try to second guess the judiciary. You know, it can be down to the way in which an argument is presented from how it might have been presented, you know, months earlier or 2 or 3 years earlier, as in this case, of course, we're talking about here a number of similar type injunctions that were sought by local authorities, re-asylum seekers in their local authority areas, and all but one of those failed, and the one that actually won was just because that was a hotel on the seafront of a tourist town that the local authority felt was potentially very damaging to the tourist infrastructure in that seafront town to have it used as an asylum seeker hotel. But the other one's all lost, and as I say, it can be down to the way in which an argument is presented, new facts perhaps that weren't explored in previous cases. It can be down just simply to the individual judge at the end of the day, because that's it, he's the human entity. He may be a judge, or she may be a judge, but they are, you know, basing it with their own you know, reading of the situation, and judges can often come to different conclusions. hearing perhaps the same level of evidence. So I'd like to say I know, but I haven't got a clue.
Mark, just very quickly, yesterday evening when I was down there, I didn't spot any migrants who were actually staying within the hotel. It was cordoned off quite a bit, and of course there was a police presence as well as the protesters. Have you spotted anyone who is currently residing in the hotel, or is everyone being kept inside for now?
Yeah, a few this morning that have come out. They don't want to engage with the press. We know that it can accommodate 138 migrants. We believe there's probably more than 100 migrants in the hotel at the moment. All will have to be moved out under current plans by the 12th of September.
OK, Mark White, thank you very much indeed. You're in Epping. Thank you for your time there. Well,
let's speak now to the Labour MP for Blackley and Middleton South, Graeme Stringer. Graeme, thanks for joining us. This is a big problem for the government here. And to some extent, it does look like events have sort of run away from the control of the government. They didn't want this hotel to close at this point. Yes, they wanted it to close before the next election. But it seems like local communities have sort of run rings around the Home Secretary.
Well, the Home Secretary wasn't party to the actual court case until the very last minute. But I welcome the decision because the Home Office, over a long period of time, have run roughshod over local communities, local economies. They've not really taken into consideration local feeling. And while this isn't a solution, it leaves a major problem. It is a lesson to the Home Office that they cannot carry on with the policies they're pursuing. There has to be a more fundamental look at the difficulties, and it won't be solved until they stop the number of illegal immigrants coming into the country. Because what happens when not just hotels are closed down, but when people arrive, effectively those people arriving, often having destroyed their documents, are given priority for dental treatment, health treatment, for housing, to the detriment of people who've lived here for a long time, paid the taxes, and they go further back in the queues for public services they've paid for.
Now, Graeme, in Blackley and Middleton South, is this an issue? Are there migrant hotels there?
No. But 20 years ago, the Home Office have done what they've been doing for a long time. They paid private landlords to turf out local people who'd been paying their rent. They created absolute havoc in communities, and I negotiated a deal with the Home Office then, 20 years ago, that has reduced the problem. There are migrant hotels outside the constituency boundaries, and there is deep resentment, for the reasons I've just said, within the people I represent, my constituents.
So, Graeme, what does
Yvette angry about it.
So what does Yvette Cooper do now? Because she's not going to want to be seen to be in a battle with local communities, at war with local communities over this. I mean, what are her options? A lot of people will say, well, these people should be deported, but we know how these things get caught up in the courts. Graeme, what does she do now?
Well, I think there is a model in Europe, or two models in Europe, in Denmark and Greece, where those countries, members of the European Union, which we are not, so we should have more latitude, have reduced the number of migrants, so illegal asylum seekers, to a mere trickle. And we need to take lessons from that. What we can't do is state policies that anybody can see are not going to lead to anything. You know, we're not going to smash the gangs. We've got gangs in all our major cities. We haven't managed to smash them. And the idea that we can smash them when they're operating from the other side of the channel, and in some cases the other side of the planet, doesn't bear half a second's scrutiny. So we need to start looking at the reasons that people are coming and staying, and change those policies. Denmark is a great example.
Some really tough policies that Denmark has been promoting over the course of the last decade or so. Really, really interesting case study there. Graeme Stringer, thanks indeed for joining us, Labour MP for Blackley and Middleton South.
Yeah, it's interesting hearing from Graeme Stringer there, because it's not a view that's held by a lot of people within the Labour Party,
and yet,
is it?
Denmark has a centre-left government, doesn't have any sort of radical right or a large radical right presence in its parliament, because for the last 10 or so years, the centre-left government has listened to the population when it comes to their demands to lower migration and be tough on asylum seekers. It turns out that the centre-left doesn't have to die, as it did in just about every other European country and has crashed down in the polls, if they just sort of follow where the public are on issues like migration.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't seem to be happening here yet. Anyway, shall we speak to the leader of Epping Forest District Council, Chris Whitbred? Chris, you've had a few hours now. You've had a sleep to reflect on what happened yesterday. What are your thoughts and speaking to local residents?
Yeah, well, I'm really pleased for, I said it this way yesterday, the students, the residents and the businesses of Epping Forest, because they deserve to have a respite from what's happened over the past few weeks. And I think this is the start of addressing the problem, not the end of it.
Well, on that point, what happens next? Where do these people go? Do you have any insight into where they may be housed after September the 12th, I believe it is?
Yeah, well, obviously, 4 o'clock on September the 12th is when the hotel is meant to be cleared of residents by. No, at this stage, the Home Office still haven't spoken to us, and they haven't spoken to us really very much over the past few weeks anyway. But obviously, the ball's in their court.
Some really, really significant goings on here. What advice do you have to other councils up and down the country? What did you do right when so many councils before, in previous years, haven't been able to win the victory that you won? Well,
obviously, my council officer team, both legal and planning, have been working very diligently over the past month, since our full council meeting where we said that we wanted the bell closed. They've worked really diligently, really hard, and gone through the planning elements of it and put together a very good, well-constructed case that the judge listened to intently on Friday and agreed with yesterday. So I think we have worked really hard to make sure on the planning arguments that we had. And I think any council up and down the country now will probably be doing likewise. Not every hotel will have the same issues, but in this particular case, particularly taking into account the location of the hotel as well. And we were really clear to the government from day one, this was just a hotel in a completely wrong position, 5 nearby primary schools, residential properties, just not suited to this type of use.
Yeah, well, Chris, what do you make of the Home Office's position? I mean, they came in at the 11th hour, didn't they, yesterday? Yeah. But the accusation that if the ruling didn't go their way, it could act as an impetus for further violent protests at hotels.
Well, it's so frustrating, isn't it? Because, it's that over the past few weeks, the initial protest did become violent. Past couple of weeks, they've quietened down an awful lot. I think there were some unfortunate scenes last night at the hotel, but on the whole, there have been peaceful protests. And towards the last weekend, most of the people there were local. But what we see, I don't believe this will spark off protest everywhere. The majority of people I've dealt with over the past few weeks have been quietly telling me about their concerns. The people who come up to you in the street, in the marketplace, in the shops, and just say, you're doing the right thing. We want the bell post closed, but we don't want ongoing demonstrations outside or in the high street, because we want our town to get back to normal. We're a lovely community in Epping. It's a beautiful town. And people just want to get back to normal. The troubles with demonstrations, of course, they impact upon the comings and goings of the town and the businesses in the town as well.
It's a really important point there that No one really wants to be the flashpoint of a moment like this. You want attention on your town and your people for good reasons, not necessarily because there's a migrant hotel. But we're going to have to leave it there. Chris Whitbred, thanks so much for joining us, leader of Epping Forest District Council. Now, of course, throughout the programme today, we're going to be speaking with people with all different points of view on this issue. So do stay tuned as we continue to dissect those repercussions.
Absolutely. And in response to the ruling yesterday, the Border Security Minister, Dame Angela Eagle, said the government will continue working with local authorities and communities to address legitimate concerns, and work continues to close all asylum hotels by the end of this Parliament.
However, the Home Office also expressed some concern at the Bell Hotel injunction, claiming it runs the risk of acting as an impetus for further violent protests. OK, well, we're going to shift the focus for a moment to the economy, because inflation, yes, it's risen once again. People are saying unexpectedly, as they say, expectedly, rising to 3.8% in July, which is higher than economists were expecting. Exactly. Let's remember, in May, it was 3.4%. In June, it was 3.6%, and now 3.8%. A clear trend. The Bank of England is forecasting it could get up to 4% next month. Again, another new 0.2% rise. Yeah, and double what they want it to be, right? Yeah. Double the target. It's not good for commuters either, because train fares in England are now expected to rise by 5.8% next year. And if you've noticed your food shop getting more expensive, it has. Well, let's speak to our political correspondent now, Katherine Fer, on all of this. These are not numbers the government wants to hear.
No, bad news for the Chancellor, who's already in a terrible financial hole, short of between 20 and 40 billion that she's going to have to find in tax rises in the budget. Bad news for all of us. Things are getting more expensive again, and I think it's worth taking a moment to look back at where inflation was. Yes, I think we should do that, because there is a big issue when it comes to inflation as a significant driver for political unrest. We've seen this when it comes to other countries. We've seen how potent it can be when it comes to electoral events. I think that we need to sort of step back a second and see how important inflation is when it comes to individuals and how they go about their lives. Why don't we bring in, we'll come back to Katherine in just a moment's time. Let's bring in the beef farmer, James Wright. Because, James, beef has become 24.3% more expensive this year compared to the same time last year. Why is that?
Well, the first thing to say, as a farmer, I don't get to set the price. I get a phone call or a text message once a week that tells me that the price has gone up. But the simple fact of the matter is we've lost so many farmers. The national beef herd has declined by about 5% in the last 10 years. And that means there are 5% fewer cows in the country. And that's just made beef more expensive.
OK, so do you expect those pressures to continue and for beef to become even more expensive?
The beef price has come back a little bit in the last month or so, but it's not like these cows magically appear. The cows behind me, a calf born this year, takes 2 years to become productive. She won't have a calf for 2 years. So although there will be farmers keeping more cattle back because the price is good, it will take some time for that to filter back through to the consumer. And a lot of costs have increased as well. Minimum wage, increases in taxes, that's all has a knock-on effect for the farmer as well. And I mean, it is telling since the general election last year that inflation has gone up rather than come down. So, I think this is going to be around for a little while.
James, I've got to ask while we've got you. You did name a couple of your cows, one after me, didn't you? How's she doing? Is she still alive and kicking?
No.
Is that her?
Yeah, this is her and her mother. They're just licking out of a magnesium bucket, which is something else that's gone up in price. But she's here and she's growing well. We weighed them yesterday, so you'll be happy to know your cow namesake is growing well. And
Patrick hasn't been eaten yet.
No, Patrick hasn't been eaten. He won't be eaten for at least 18 months. So,
I'm sorry if this is an inopportune question to ask. I'm sorry if this is... How much does Emily weigh?
Well, Emily's cow when she was born, she weighed 32 kilos back in May. She now weighs 150 kilos.
Wow.
So,
About double me.
That's strong growth.
Yeah, well, a cow grows roughly about 1 kilo a day, but that's the whole point, is that it takes a very long time for these animals to grow. And it's all fed by grass on our farm, so, you know, that's the big difference between Britain and the rest of the world. Our animals grow slowly, it's all fed by grass, we don't feed lots like other countries.
No, really, really significant stuff. Of course, the harvest, not so good this year, probably going to kick into further rises on top of all those tax pressures, on top of all of those regulatory demands that farmers are facing. But I know that the whole country is behind our farming community. So, James, really do stick in there and keep going. I know you run a brilliant business. So thanks indeed for joining us.
Good stuff. Well, let's return to Katherine in the studio, Katherine Forster, our political correspondent. So, yes, a headache for the government and the rest of us.
Yes, and just worth saying that when Labour came to power, July 2024, inflation was at 2.2%. Now it's 3.8%, so it's not far off having doubled. Now, obviously, under the Tories, it spiked at about 11%, but they then did manage to get that down. The Bank of England's target, of course, is 2%. So a headache for Rachel Reeves, who has, not surprisingly, said that there is more to do. The government are keen to stress there's interest rate cuts, that wages are rising, and so on and so forth. But look, over the last 3 years, inflation has put prices up by over 20%. That is a lot of money. Now, food is one of the things that's driven this latest rise. Food went up by a quarter in just a couple of years between 2022 and 2024. So even more than that now. And everybody has to eat. Everybody has to buy food. So the cost of living crisis, I think, for many people, far from over. And the government desperately needs for people, working people, as they always say, to start to feel better off.
It is one of these things where economists always say, oh, this is against economists' expectations. We didn't think that inflation would go up. But you go into any shop, you look at any price on any shelf, you know everything has got more expensive. You can feel it. You can see it in how much you're paying for the same stuff that you used to buy a year or two ago is now just so much more expensive. Katherine, this is going to be really, really important for the political implications and how this affects the government. We'll be speaking to you, of course, throughout the programme. But for now, thanks indeed for joining us.
Well, thank you very much indeed to Katherine. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up. Yes, a shower gel TV advert has been banned by the advertising watchdog for apparently reinforcing an offensive racial stereotype.
But after the break, a grassroots campaign called Flag Force UK is promising the public display of British flags. This as an investigation has been launched by the police after a roundabout was painted with the St George's Cross. All of that to come after your latest news headlines.
Good afternoon. The top stories. Councils across England are considering launching their own legal actions after a district council in Essex secured a High Court victory temporarily blocking asylum seekers from being housed at the Bell Hotel. UK inflation rose by more than expected in July. Consumer prices index inflation increased to 3.8% from 3.6% in June. The Kremlin has played down any talk of an imminent summit between the Russian president and Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky, as Donald Trump renewed his call for the two leaders to meet to discuss ending the war in Ukraine. And the Royal Mint has announced the final batch of Queen Elizabeth II £1 coins are entering circulation across the UK. More than 23 million Queen coins are being released. Those are the latest headlines. For now, more from me in half an hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are, online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Well, good afternoon, Britain. It is now 34 minutes past 12 and flag wars appear to have erupted across the country after councils have ordered the ripping down of Union Jack flags or Union flags.
Well, activists are fighting back across the United Kingdom, launching Operation Raise the Colours, putting up British flags in defiance of these bans, even using social media to better coordinate their campaigns.
Now, earlier on GB News, the founder of Flag Force UK, Joseph Moulton, spoke to us about why he set up this team.
It was really kind of accidentally has kind of blown up the way it has. A few weeks ago, a few friends of ours were kind of looking, seeing what's kind of going on in Birmingham and elsewhere, and we thought, you know, displaying the flags of our local areas. So we had the England flags and the Yorkshire flags. We thought kind of spruce up the area a little bit. We just did one street, didn't think any more of it, until around kind of 10 days ago we saw on the local Facebook group that everybody loved it and people were asking for more. So we kind of said, well, we've got to be a bit of a mandate here, and it was kind of really bringing the community together in a way that we don't really see in York. It's fairly quiet in that sense. So we began putting more up. We had a lot of people reach out to us to get involved. And since then, alongside that, we've been doing litter picking, collections for the food bank, and really trying to turn it into a kind of grassroots community organisation that's taking a bit more responsibility in the local area.
This is fascinating. More and more people up and down the country sort of being involved in how their local area looks. Yeah. Whether it's litter picking, graffiti cleaning, some might say a bit more vigilante action that we've seen.
You've done a bit of that, haven't you?
I've done a bit of graffiti cleaning. But some politicians have done, you know, stopping people fare avoiding. I wonder if this is more of a phenomenon, you know, as the government seems to lose control, are there sort of people stepping into that vacuum?
I think it might be a lot about that, actually, a little act of defiance. Dr. Rakan Hassan, social policy analyst, joins us now. You've written on this phenomenon, haven't you, Rakan? What do you think is going on here? Why, all of a sudden, are people coming out and raising flags?
Well, I think, Emily, we've seen in recent times our public institutions have been more than happy to celebrate the flags of other countries, their history, heritage and traditions. Well, there's been a bit of an unease, a squeamishness when it comes to expressions of British national identity and specifically English pride. So when you look at Operation Raise the Colours, I almost see this, a lot of people see this, oh, this is boisterous nationalism. I look at it quite differently. I think this is it's a form of, it's a traditional form of resistance almost. I think that you have communities there who feel that by raising the Union flag and also the St. George's Cross, it makes their communities look better. It's an expression of a local and national civic pride. That's the way I view it at the moment.
And you go to lots of countries around the world and you expect, when you're in France, to see some French flags. You also expect to see some EU flags, quite frankly. You see that in Spain a lot. You see a lot of them flown together. I don't think we've ever been like that in this country. No. But you go to America and you see American flags all over the place, on public transport, outside homes. We've always been a bit more squeamish, apart from when the football is on. Is there, to some extent, an over-interpretation here of how squeamish we are about the flags? Because when the World Cup is on, everyone is flying an England flag in England.
Well, I think that when you're looking at those cases, usually surrounding sporting occasions, I think quite often what you see there, Tom, is private individuals doing that, and private institutions such as public houses. I think that when it comes to sort of state-owned buildings, civic buildings, I think that we have a very different culture. I don't think traditionally we have been as proud in terms of raising the national flag. And I think that much of this is responded by the fact that when you look at what happened in Birmingham, the Library of Birmingham was lit green and white in commemoration of Pakistan Independence Day, while the City Council there was enforcing the mass removal of Union Jack and St. George's Cross flags. So I think that when you see the council behaving in that kind of way, it will feed into perceptions that there's a particular bias among our public institutions when it comes to celebrating national history, traditions and heritage.
I mean, Rakan, you're from an ethnic minority yourself in this country, and why do some people from minorities find the flag a threat or intimidating, or, dare I say it, even a sign of racism or jingoism? Why do you think that is?
Well, I think some people consider the Union Jack flag as a symbol of imperial oppression. There's no denying the horrors of empire, whether it was the 1919 Amritsar massacre, the violent suppression of the Mau Mau uprising in the Kenyan colony, and particularly the Britain's participation in slavery. But I think history is complicated. You can't look at all those things, but then ignore Britain's pioneering humanitarian role in suppressing the transatlantic slave trade. And I think that if you look at my specific background, living in Luton, I saw as a teenager the creation of the English Defence League just down the road. But people are arguing arguing that far-right troublemakers have hijacked the Union Jack flag and the St. George's Cross, then I think the perfect antidote to that is patriotic ethnic minority people actually reclaiming the flag and considering it their own.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Rakiba-san, really appreciate your time. Social policy analyst, writer, broadcaster, researcher, everything else. Thank you very much indeed.
Now, I should say that in response to its criticism of the removal of British flags, a spokesman for Tower Hamlets Council, one of those councils that has been removing these flags, has issued the following statement. We're aware that members of the public have been putting up St George's flags on various structures. While we recognise people wish to express their views, we have a responsibility to monitor and maintain council infrastructure. Where flags are attached to council-owned infrastructure without permission, they may be removed as part of routine maintenance.
And Birmingham City Council, they've defended their removal of flags by saying staff had been instructed to remove all attachments from lampposts ahead of an upgrade to energy-efficient LED street lighting.
Let's move on now, because summer harvests across the country are starting to come to an end, but long spells of dry weather has meant many yields are well below average.
Well, the TV star turned farmer, Jeremy Clarkson, of course, called it catastrophic and said the costs facing growers mean they aren't sure how long they'll survive.
Well, our national reporter Jack Carson spent the day on a farm in Lincolnshire to find out more.
After another gruelling harvest, there's no rest for farmer Andrew Ward and his team in Lincolnshire. Combines need to be cleaned and fields cultivated. However, little to no rainfall since spring has meant arable farmers across the country are struggling.
So here we've got a heap of spring malting barley. This goes to make whiskey and beer. This crop was planted in March and harvested end of July. Now, normally this building, this grain store, the heap would be about 3 feet higher than it is now, and it would be full to the door. So we've got a very, very reduced amount of grain due to the dry weather. So the lack of rain has been catastrophic, especially to spring crops.
Activists say climate change is causing more extreme weather, whether that's droughts or flooding. But Andrew disputes the claim.
I've got rainfall figures going back 27 years. And for me, anything more than 100 millimetres of rain in a month is a lot of water. 1976 was an extremely hot year. That was years ago. That was like 50 years ago. And you look at it now, where we are today, and yet people are saying that it's the climate that's causing today. We were getting those problems and those weather effects years ago. It's the variations of weather that we get all the time.
Trouble at harvest soon has a domino effect, not only with the UK's food security, but livestock too. Straw and fodder shortages are already being reported, leaving some farmers starting to use reserves, usually left for the winter months. But even where crop yields have been average, Andrew says he faces selling his wheat and barley for less than the price more than 10 years ago.
The problem we've got at the minute is grain prices are really poor. At the moment we're selling grain now, feed wheat is around about £165, £170 per tonne. To put that in perspective, 2012, so that is like 13 years ago, wheat was £200 a tonne. So we were receiving £35 a tonne more 13 years ago. Yet the cost of growing that crop are not what it was in 2012. So whether it's fertiliser, whether it's agrochemical products, fuel as well, and labour, wages we're paying more for, national insurance, everything we're paying today's rate, but we're selling our crops at a lot less than it was in 2012. And that is not sustainable. It can't carry on. There are more farms for sale nationally than there has been for years. And that is the ones that people know about. There are a lot of farms that are now on the market and a lot of deals being done with people and friends and neighbours that is not publicised.
As another harvest goes by, farmers are warning that unsustainable costs mean more shed doors could soon be closed for good. Jack Carson, GB News, Lincolnshire.
Well, it's been a disastrous summer harvest, but perhaps other countries have fared a little better. Let's have a look at the travel weather.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
For anyone heading further afield for a break over the next few days, it is going to be hot for southern parts of Spain, thundery through central Mediterranean and fairly breezy through Greece, especially around the islands, but less hot here compared with last week. Some hot sunshine in the south of Italy, very thundery through central and northern Italy, Croatia, the Alps as well. Plenty of fine weather for Iberia, staying breezy through the Canaries, and it stays similar across central Med through the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more still to come on today's programme.
Every day, I wake up determined to deliver a better life for the people all across this nation. I am your voice.
Yes, Donald Trump has joined TikTok, the Chinese social networking video spreading algorithm-driven company welcomes the US president. We'll discuss that. But after the break.
A shower gel TV advert has been banned by the advertising watchdog for apparently reinforcing an offensive racial stereotype. That's next.
Hello, very good day to you. I'm here with your GB News weather update from the Met Office. For many, it is going to be a fine rest of the day with some warm, sunny spells, but a breezier, cooler feel to things towards the North Sea. There is a front currently pushing its way southwards across parts of Wales and southern England, but it's not a particularly strong front, a fairly weak feature, just bringing a bit more cloud here and perhaps a few spots of drizzly rain for a little while. But it is going to be breaking up and clearing away, so some bright sunny spells developing even in the southwest and elsewhere across much of the country. It's a fine afternoon with some decent sunshine breaking through. And in the sunshine, for most, it's going to feel pretty warm. Temperatures peaking in the low, possibly mid-20s, but a bit fresher towards the east and a bit of a breeze here, adding to the cooler feel as well. Now, as we go towards this evening, still perhaps a bit of cloud clinging on across some parts of Devon and Cornwall from that front. Otherwise, a mix of some sunny spells and some cloud that's bubbled up at times through the day. A similar story across parts of northern England, Northern Ireland and much of Scotland, albeit across Orkney and Shetland, some showery bursts are quite likely, and a few of those showers may just about skirt into parts of mainland Scotland, the tip of Aberdeenshire, for example, likely to see a couple of showers for a little while. Most places overnight away from the far northeast will have a dry story. A few showers may just about skirt into some parts of the far southeast, but like I say, most places having a dry night, a bit more cloud towards the east. Further west, where we have clear skies, it could turn a little bit chilly. In fact, in some rural spots, we could see temperatures dropping into low single figures. And so, yes, a fresh, chilly start for some of us first thing tomorrow. But then, once the sun gets going, it is going to warm up. Again, temperatures are going to be around average for most of us. Some decent sunshine on offer for many places, a bit more cloud towards some central and eastern parts, and still a bit of a breeze here, so a chillier feel for some, but for most in the sunshine, feeling warm.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Significant road issues. The A465 eastbound at Glynneath has delays due to planned maintenance, with the on-slip closed and diversions. In Cheshire East, the M6 northbound faces delays after a vehicle left the carriageway, closing 2 of 4 lanes and causing a 40-minute delay. In Bedford, the A1 southbound has a broken down vehicle causing a lane closure. Expect delays. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast reports major disruption in the Wigan northwestern area, with Northern also experiencing disruptions in various routes, including Wigan northwestern and Warrington areas. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's just coming up to 10 minutes to 1 o'clock, and the Advertising Standards Authority has axed Sanex's shower gel advert, suggesting that white skin is superior to black skin. That's what the Advertising Standards Authority has seemingly said.
Yes, they ruled the use of different skin colours to portray a before and after the product's use created a juxtaposition of black skin shown as itchy, dry and cracked, and white skin shown as smoother.
Oh dear. Well, Colgate Palmolive, which owns the Sanex brand. I have literally never read these words before. Which said
I use this brand all the time.
What is Sanex? Is Sanex?
It's just a nice shower gel brand, yeah.
OK, I just get own brand. Well, the advert's use of diverse models was to show the product was suitable and effective for all, says the brand, rather than as a comparison based on race or ethnicity.
Right, well, joining us is the director at the BME charity Voice for Change England, Kunle Ololode. Thank you very much indeed. Did Sanex get it wrong this time?
As it happens, I woke up this morning and I was looking at the low level of my own shower gel. I was thinking I might need to pop out and get some. I think that advertising is an interesting medium in terms of looking at inequalities. But on this particular issue, I think this time they've got it wrong. I mean, I believe that there were 2 complaints in total. This advert was shown to millions of people since June, and 2 complaints come in, and therefore it's banned. I think, if I'm honest, there's a tendency to read too much sometimes into some of these adverts. And I think that the agency involved in preparing it did the advert in good faith. I'd also add that as somebody who's run workshops on black representation in the media and had discussions on this, the biggest problem has been traditionally is actually the lack of black representation within the advertising world. And I think that's changed in recent years. And it seems that we're now moving into a realm of a discussion about wanting to then determine the quality and the output of those images, which I think it's a bit of, for me, a problematic kind of position that the regulating body has taken up.
Yeah, Kunle, do you think that actually this could have a counterproductive impact? I mean, if Sanex has got into so much hot water for this, other brands might just go, you know what, I'm not going to hire a black person for the advert. I might get it wrong. It's safer to just hire white people and avoid any of this sort of controversy.
Exactly, and those were my thoughts. And I think that the issues in relation to how people are represented in the media is an interesting point of discussion. But we need to actually prepare to actually see different types of images if we're serious about getting a more diverse range of imagery in advertising. And for me, I take that the 2 people involved in making the complaint have seen it in the way that they have. But there are hundreds of thousands, and if not millions of people who actually have not taken up that and just see it as an advert for shower gel.
Yeah,
the object of the company at the end of the day is to sell the product.
Yeah, this is what happens with the advertising agency. They get one or two complaints, and then they have to investigate, and then they have to come to a decision, and often it's quite heavy-handed. But Kunle, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Kunle Ololode there, director at the BME charity Voice for Change.
Now, I should say that Colgate Palmolive... Palmolive. Not pal. So. Oh, yes, because the M, that makes sense. That's how words work.
It's got a little olive, I think, in its branding.
Olive. Well, if it's called palm olive, why not put palm olive? Not make it one word. Ridiculous branding. Well, Colgate Palmolive, who own Sanex, another nonsense word, have told GB News, we take note of the ASA's council's ruling. Our advert was intended to highlight how our skin therapy range supports healthy skin across a variety of skin types. At Sanex, our mission is to champion skin health for all, which is portrayed across our brand communications.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. We've got lots more coming up on today's show. We are, of course, going to be returning to what happened in Essex yesterday evening and what could happen in terms of migrant hotels around the rest of the country.
And I'm going to learn how to say palm olive, even when they truncate it into one word, when it clearly should be 2 separate words.
I got it right now.
People to pronounce it like that. So much more to come, the serious and the silly, after your weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good day to you. I'm here with your GB News weather update from the Met Office. For many, it is going to be a fine rest of the day with some warm, sunny spells, but a breezier, cooler feel to things towards the North Sea. There is a front currently pushing its way southwards across parts of Wales and southern England, but it's not a particularly strong front, a fairly weak feature, just bringing a bit more cloud here and perhaps a few spots of drizzly rain for a little while. But it is going to be breaking up and clearing away, so some bright sunny spells developing even in the southwest and elsewhere across much of the country. It's a fine afternoon with some decent sunshine breaking through, and in the sunshine for most it's going to feel pretty warm, temperatures peaking in the low, possibly mid-20s, but a bit fresher towards the east and a bit of a breeze here adding to the cooler feel as well. Now as we go towards this evening, still perhaps a bit of cloud clinging on across some parts of Devon and Cornwall from that front, otherwise a mix of some sunny spells and some cloud that's bubbled up at times through the day. A similar story across parts of northern England, Northern Ireland and much of Scotland, albeit across Orkney and Shetland some showery bursts are quite likely, and a few of those showers may just about skirt into parts of mainland Scotland, the tip of Aberdeenshire for example, likely to see a couple of showers for a little while. Most places overnight away from the far northeast will have a dry story. A few showers may just about skirt into some parts of the far southeast, but like I say, most places having a dry night, a bit more cloud towards the east. Further west, where we have clear skies, it could turn a little bit chilly. In fact, in some rural spots, we could see temperatures dropping into low single figures. And so, yes, a fresh, chilly start for some of us first thing tomorrow. But then, once the sun gets going, it is going to warm up. Again, temperatures are going to be around average for most of us. Some decent sunshine on offer for many places, a bit more cloud towards some central and eastern parts, and still a bit of a breeze here, so a chillier feel for some, but for most in the sunshine, feeling warm.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
What does it feel like to be a Great British Giveaway winner?
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God, I'm going to cry.
Do you know what? I've never won anything like this in my life.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
That is absolutely fantastic.
We're over the moon.
Yes, that is fantastic.
You know, you have no idea how much I needed it. Oh my goodness.
You've won £54,321.
Please don't joke. This would change my life.
Oh, thank you so much. I was gobsmacked. Thank you, GB News.
I'd say don't hesitate, do it. If you're not in it, you've got no chance of winning it.
Thank you.
You weren't expecting to get that call today, were you?
No, I wasn't.
You really could be our next big winner. Head over to gbnews.com/win now to find out how and get your entry for the Great British Giveaway. Great prizes, even greater wins.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Got a lovely article on the Times Online about you and Maggie, your lovely dog, who is 17.
Yep.
But I was reading, and I have to ask you, about what happens when the day comes, when Maggie passes on.
Yeah.
You'd like to get her stuffed?
Well, the thing is, she's of stuffing size. You know, she's
taxidermy. I'm not sure about this.
She's quite good. She's about the size of a fox, so she is, and she could just sit very nicely on the mantelpiece.
Oh, you wouldn't want her on your mantelpiece. Look at her.
But why? Well, why
wouldn't it upset you too much?
No, it wouldn't upset me. It would make me feel quite good. I have got a bronze statue of her made.
Oh, I like that statue. I've seen that before, yeah.
And when it was made, you had her and the statue together and you couldn't tell which was which, really. But they are. Look, it's love. Dogs bring out the best love in you. It's an unconditional love. You'll never experience anything else like it, and it's that way back from me. There she is. That was 17 years ago.
Oh, look at her.
Do you think I look any different?
You haven't changed a dot. You haven't changed a dot. She's gone a little bit grey, hasn't she? But she's still smiling. And if we've got the pictures from yesterday, she's got a big smile on her face.
Because she's an adopted dog, I think she appreciates, you know, the new home that she's got and the life that she was taken away from.
She's grateful, isn't she? I get that from her.
Well, I would. That's what I would like to think. That's what I like to think. And if you can, please adopt and do not shop.
Yeah, I'm in the market for a dog.
Yeah?
Yeah. After the honeymoon, I think we're going to start looking for a dog. That's the plan. So
But
maybe
honestly,
early next year.
Go round one of the homing centres, you know, just adopt.
But I'd want to take all of them home. That would be my problem.
Well, that could well
I'd
be
end
a
up with
problem,
50.
but what
Need a farm.
what a great choice to make.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Well, good afternoon, Britain. It's 1 o'clock on Wednesday, the 20th of August. I'm Emily Carver.
And I'm Tom Harwood.
At the end of the day, we got a point to make, and we've made it. And we would have stayed here to as long as it have ever have taken to have got them out of here. They shouldn't be here in the first place.
Well, that was last night, but could councils today across the country now mount their own legal challenges against the use of migrant hotels in their area? This after the High Court ordered the closure of a migrant hotel in Epping.
Well, here in Epping, there's great sense of relief within the local community at that decision at the High Court, and the hope that this will finally bring an end to the use of the Bell Hotel as an asylum seeker accommodation centre.
Elsewhere, it's bad news for the Chancellor today as inflation shoots up to 3.8%, almost double where it was when Labour came to power. Why has the price of beef gone up by 25%?
Well, the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, says there is more to do. It's just one problem for her as she has a budget coming up and potentially lots of tax rises for all of us.
Indeed. And elsewhere, the government has agreed a new migrant returns deal with Iraq in its latest bid to stop the boats. Will we actually see failed Iraqi asylum seekers sent back to their country?
Every day, I wake up determined to deliver a better life for the people all across this nation. I am your voice.
From China virus to China viral, yes, Donald Trump has joined TikTok. But is it a controversial move after Congress voted to change ownership of the China-owned app?
It's about time Donald Trump was on the old TikTok, I think.
Do you think?
Yeah, everyone has to be on it. I'm on it, you're on it. Katherine, are you on it?
I think one of my sons made me an account, so yes, I'm on it. Have I ever posted on it? No, look, it's enough of a struggle for me to make a post on Instagram with like more than one picture. So yeah.
OK, so we're a little behind, but you know you can always come back.
Oh, but the thing is with TikTok, it is such a sort of focus drain.
Addictive.
You can think that you're just watching one or two videos and you flick through one or two, and before you know it, you've wasted half an hour and you've gone down some rabbit hole, some algorithmic rabbit hole that has thrown you things that you didn't even know that you wanted to watch. But because the clever little algorithm learns what you like, not just from what you click the like button on, but from what you hover over, how long you stay on a video before you move to the next one, it then matches you to other people around the world and think, oh, they like that, so you must like that. And it is spooky.
It is
spooky how accurate they get
so
and how compelling it becomes.
Because I get news content, but I get so much pregnancy content. It's just coming. It must have been that they fed me one video, and then from that, I hovered on it for a long time, and then they keep them coming.
Did TikTok know you were pregnant before you were pregnant?
Well, maybe it did. Sensed it. I mean, we do hear that they're listening to us, don't we?
Well, there are cases of... I think I'm right in saying there was an American supermarket that faced a legal case from the father of a daughter who kept getting recommended pregnancy products. And it turned out that she was actually pregnant. He was like, how does this supermarket know? And it's because she was on a loyalty card scheme. She didn't know she was pregnant. She was buying items that were associated with pregnancy. So she wasn't even buying, you know, pregnancy items. It's just the kind of food that she was buying was trending towards what pregnant people were buying. So then it started recommending her.
High carb, high sugar?
I would imagine so.
Oh, my God.
But reward schemes in supermarkets have been doing this for a long time. We're just getting more and more sophisticated when it comes to sort of what our technology knows about us.
Yeah, well, it's wild. Let us know if you're on TikTok, if you're steering clear of that one. But yes, Donald Trump is there. So does that mean they're keeping the app there?
I wonder what's on his algorithm.
I wonder what's on his algorithm.
Just a lot of Miss World.
And probably a lot of memes about him. Probably a lot of him.
Yeah,
oh,
a lot of Donald Trump and a lot of sort of
beautiful women,
bikini-clad models. I think that's probably
know about that.
If I know Donald Trump, it will be those two things.
Let's go to the headlines.
Good afternoon. The top stories. Councils across England are considering launching their own legal actions after a district council in Essex secured a High Court victory, temporarily blocking asylum seekers from being housed at the Bell Hotel. Yesterday, a High Court judge ruled the former Bell Hotel in Epping must stop housing asylum seekers by the 12th of September. Conservative-run Broxbourne Council in Hertfordshire said it was taking legal advice as a matter of urgency about whether it could take similar action to Epping Forest District Council. Reform UK leader Nigel Farage indicated the 12 councils where Reform UK was largest party would consider legal challenges following the ruling. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philps says it's all happening because Labour have lost control of the country's borders.
Well, the use of asylum hotels dropped considerably in the last 2 years of the last government. Illegal channel crossings went down by a third during our last full year in office. But what we've seen since the election is a record ever number of illegal immigrants cross the channel because Labour have lost control of our borders. Many councils, including Conservative councils, will be challenging the use of asylum hotels. Of course, it was a Conservative council, Epping, which successfully challenged the government because people don't want these hotels in the middle of their communities. But let's not forget, the reason these hotels are there in the first place is because this Labour government has lost control of our borders.
UK inflation rose by more than expected in July, according to official figures. The ONS says consumer prices index inflation increased to 3.8% in July from 3.6% in June. Transport was the biggest factor, particularly due to a spike in flight prices as families booked trips during the school summer holidays. Regulated train fares in England may increase by 5.8% next year. Parliamentary Secretary for the Treasury, Torsten Bell, spoke on the news.
Price rises are disappointing for everybody. We've seen energy prices come down in July, but they're still too high. That's why it's so important that we keep easing the cost of living, keep acting on that. That's why we're raising the minimum wage, it's why we're capping bus fares, it's why we're extending free school meals, and it's why the stability that's allowed 5 interest rate cuts since the election is so important.
Kneecap star Liam Moana's appearing in court for allegedly supporting a proscribed terror organisation. Hundreds of supporters greeted the rapper with cheers as he made his way into court today. He's accused of displaying a flag in support of terror group Hezbollah at a gig in November last year. In response, the rap group described this move as a calculated political decision that they say was designed to try and portray support for Kneecap as somehow troublesome. A TV advert for Sanex shower gel, which showed black skin as cracked and white skin as smooth, has been banned for reinforcing a racial stereotype. The ad shows 2 models with dark skin. One has itchy skin, the other has dry skin, followed by a white woman with no skin problems. The Advertising Standards Authority upheld 2 complaints, which said the depiction of dark skin as dry, cracked and itchy could be interpreted as suggesting that white skin was superior to black skin. Sanex says, "We take note of the ruling. Our advert was intended to highlight how our skin therapy range supports healthy skin across a variety of skin types. At Sanex, our mission is to champion skin health for all, which is portrayed across our brand communications." And Liverpool star Mohamed Salah has won a record 3rd Professional Footballers Association Men's Player of the Year award, with Arsenal's Mariona Caldente collecting the women's accolade. The 33-year-old Egypt international scored 29 goals and provided 18 assists as the Red stormed to last season's Premier League title. Meanwhile, 29-year-old Caldente moved to Arsenal last summer and scored 19 goals in all competitions. Those are the latest headlines for now. More from me in half an hour.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
And here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy you $1.3502 and €1.1601 euros. The price of gold, £2,463.48 per ounce. And the FTSE 100 is currently at 9,178 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 9 minutes past 1. Now, councils across England are poised to take legal action to remove migrants from hotels in their areas. This after the High Court granted an injunction to stop asylum seekers from being housed at the Bell Hotel in Epping.
Yes, the Reform leader, Nigel Farage, he was particularly jubilant after the ruling. He pledged that all Reform-led councils will do everything in their power to follow Epping's lead.
However, the ruling presents the Home Office with a fresh headache. Not only do they now need to find accommodation for the migrants who are housed in the Bell Hotel, but the ruling has shone a fresh light, a spotlight, on whether the government is doing enough to stop those small boats coming across the Channel in the first place.
Well, lots of questions. GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White is there for us in Epping. He was outside the High Court yesterday. Mark, what's the latest? Where does Yvette Cooper, our Home Secretary, go from here?
Well, they're weighing up their options is the official comment from the Home Office, but I think there's no doubt that they are probably going to look at some kind of legal intervention and appeal of some sorts, because it's just too big an issue for them to sit back and to take, because of the potential ramifications for asylum seekers who are being housed in hotels right up and down the country, because it's clear now that given what was decided at the High Court yesterday with regard to the Bell Hotel here, then other councils are likely to follow suit. We've heard from Broxbourne Council in Hertfordshire that they're going to look for a similar injunction. Nigel Farage, as you mentioned in your introduction there, has also called on his 10 local authorities that reform controls, authorities that reform is the lead council in, or the lead party within. He's called upon them to examine the asylum-seeking hotels in their areas with a view to mounting similar legal challenges. So it's not just the inconvenience of one hotel and the 100 or so people who are housed here, but it could be dozens, maybe even hundreds of hotels with thousands of asylum seekers that may then have to be accommodated elsewhere. I should tell you that Chris Philp, Shadow Home Secretary, has been a busy guy today. He has written to Home Secretary Yvette Cooper, urging her to now carry out or to convene an emergency cabinet meeting to try to get on top of the migrant crisis, to look at properly securing the country's borders, to give a guarantee that they are not going to continue to house asylum seekers in much needed accommodation that people here in the UK require, but to look at the immediate deportation of those who arrive across the border illegally. That's what the Conservatives say they will do. They had 14 years in office and didn't do that, but of course they now say they've changed.
Yes, it's interesting to note what the Home Office put to the judge on this one. They said this ruling could risk breaching Article 3 of the Human Rights Convention, which prohibits torture, inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment. It could interfere with its statutory duty to house asylum seekers, and it could act as an impetus for further violent protests at hotels.
Well, yes, and I think their point there that they were trying to get at is that one of the factors that the judge is taken into consideration in the argument was the council here, Epping Forest District Council, had said in their argument that there wasn't just the daily disruption of the protests, but violent incidents had occurred and there was concern of the potential for more violence. So given that, the Home Office argue that there is a possibility that people might see violent protest as a way to get judges to sit up and listen. I think you could equally argue that peaceful protest has won the day here, because apart from that Thursday when there was some significant levels of violence here at this hotel, the vast majority of protests that local people have attended here have been very peaceful in nature to get their message across, and they see it as people power and not violent protest that has won the day. And the judge, there's no doubt, also took into consideration the concerns of the local community, the impact on the local community, and the protests, peaceful protests, as well as any disruption from violence.
Well, absolutely. Mark White, thank you so much. Mark White, our Home Security Editor there, outside the Bell Hotel, become the epicentre for this issue.
Yeah. Well, we were speaking, of course, to the leader of the council a little bit earlier, and he was saying he didn't want to be the epicentre.
No.
He didn't want the town to be known for this. He wants it all to sort of move on and go away, and hopefully now for the town, it can do.
Yeah, I mean, speaking to some people yesterday who were out sort of celebrating, standing outside the hotel, they were happy, they were surprised, and a few of them said to me that they're not the type to protest.
Yeah.
They haven't been the type to protest, and many of them had a sort of story or an anecdote that had caused them distress with regard to this particular hotel. It's interesting hearing from people themselves what they have to say and why they're there.
Well, let's get some more reaction now. We're joined by the director of the Afghan Human Rights Foundation, Mohammed Asif. Mohammed, thanks so much for being with us this afternoon. This, of course, is going to be a problem for the government if it becomes a domino effect of hotels being rejected by councils across the country.
Well, thank you for having me. First of all, asylum seekers did not ask for hotels, I work with asylum seekers almost 10 hours a day or 11 hours a day, and none of the asylum seekers are happy in the hotel. All they want is, some sort of shelter accommodation, community-based accommodation, where they can live and rebuild their life and contribute to the society. But it's not their choice, it is the government choice, whether they were the Tories or the Labour or whoever government of the day in power. They kept them there, away from communities, not allowed to work, confined to that hotel 24 hours a day, receiving £9 a week, which is not even enough in London or surrounding areas for one-way bus ticket. So it's not their choice, it's the government choice. And asylum seekers have to pay the price for it.
Do you think that undocumented and unvetted men who've crossed into this country illegally should just be allowed to work in this country from day one and should just be put into housing from day one at the cost of the British taxpayer?
First of all, look at it this way, because whoever come into Britain, they have every right to claim asylum. That is under the Geneva Convention. And if Britain doesn't like it, they should just simply withdraw from the convention and say, look, we got nothing to do with asylum seekers or refugee crisis around the world. They should just withdraw from the convention. So when the media, including your channel and, the tourists in Nigel Farage and others comes on TV and say, these are illegal. Once you are in this country, you applied for asylum and you are fingerprinted by the Home Office. Your, photos is taken, your fingerprints are taken on the day you arrive. So it's not that you are undocumented. The moment you arrive, you step in on British shore, then you're fingerprinted within 24 hours. Your photo is taken, and they give you a piece of paper that who you are and which country you come from.
Well, hang on. That doesn't mean that we know. That doesn't mean that we know their criminal record potentially. That doesn't mean we even know where they've come from.
But a lot of asylum seekers or refugees are coming like the countries where Britain invaded them. Forced illegal invasion.
Well, hang on. We're jumping around here. We're jumping around. Mohammed, do you believe that illegal migration exists? Because what you're essentially saying is that anyone who rocks up in this country by irregular means and claims asylum is therefore legal, essentially. Okay. So do you believe that there is something called illegal migration?
Every legal expert in this country is calling for safe routes in this country, where every single safe route is shut by the British government. then you have no choice except to put yourself at risk in the hands of smugglers who are, brutal individual or organization.
Well, you do have a choice. You could go to a different country. I want to pick you up on something you said earlier, though, Mohammed, if I may.
Let me give you an example. A brutal regime from the Taliban in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
If I'm running away from Taliban, my life is at risk, and I stood with the British forces, for example. There is no legal route for me available. So
there was.
There wasn't.
In 2021, when the Taliban took over Afghanistan, there was the Arab scheme. And the Arab scheme
shut down.
Took no longer, absolutely, because we're 4 years later. We're 4 years after the Taliban. If they've been living in Afghanistan for the last 4 years, and the Taliban haven't.
Let me say this. You see, Britain was in Afghanistan for 20 years or so. They destabilized the country. They occupied the country for 20 years. After 20 years of war, failed war and fair policies in Afghanistan and other countries, they just washed their hands and ran away 3 o'clock in the morning and left the Afghan people in the hands of Taliban. So that's not the way you handle things.
The withdrawal was, of course, dreadful and instigated by the United States. But we did set up a very generous Afghan refugee scheme. It was called Arab. We had thousands upon thousands of Afghans moved to this country. But it was a time-limited scheme, and it has now closed.
With Britain against the so-called terrorists in Afghanistan. They're still lingering in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in Uzbekistan, Tajikistan. Not everyone was brought here. And the Arab scheme is shut down just now.
Yes.
There are people who are the Arab scheme.
But of course, Mohammed, you would accept that if there are Afghans who have, for example, found a place to live in Europe in the last couple of years and then want to come across to the United Kingdom, they are already safe in a place like France or Germany or Italy or Spain.
Let me tell you this. Britain has ruled for maybe 300 years or 400 years, the subcontinent, Africa, and many, many other countries. People have a lot of links to Britain, to the United Kingdom.
Yeah, many millions of people do.
Mohammed, you're essentially saying, Mohammed, that anyone from Afghanistan who wants to come to this country should be able to.
Britain is think about the cause of the problems. Britain government, when I say Britain, I refer to the government.
I'm sorry, Britain is not responsible for all the problems in Afghanistan. I'm sorry, that is just not true.
All the problems in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Libya, in Yemen, in Sudan, in Somalia, in Eritrea. Britain is actively promoting.
No. Britain is responsible for the problems, quote unquote problems, in Singapore, Hong Kong, Australia, New Zealand, America, Canada. Why is it that some countries that Britain colonised are now some of the most successful and rich parts of the world, and others are not? I mean, you can't say that the places in the world that have been haven't been living under British governance for decades and have run their countries poorly. Why is that Britain's fault?
The particular issue in this country, the particular issue is, the far right and the racists, instigated by the Tories, Nigel Farage, and some others in this country, who comes 24/7, dragging every asylum seekers and refugees in this country and blaming them for every problem in this society. Asylum seeker did not cause the cost of living crisis in this country. They did not cause the petrol crisis, the inflation crisis, the mortgage crisis. These are the day-to-day government. What the government does is they're quite happy with this, the Tories or the Labour, putting the poor people against poor. And then they enjoy it. They wash their hands from the problem and they enjoy it.
OK, well, it's strong view, strongly held, clearly. Mohammed Asif, thank you very much for your time, Director of the Afghan Human Rights Foundation. Oof.
No, interesting stuff. Of course, do get involved, gbnews.com/your say. But in the response to this ruling that we were kicking off the conversation talking about, the Border Security Minister, Dame Angela Eagle, said that the government will continue working with local authorities and communities to address legitimate concerns, and work continues to close all asylum hotels by the end of the Parliament.
However, the Home Office has also expressed some concern at the Bell Hotel injunction, claiming it runs the risk of acting as an impetus for further violent protests.
Time for the Great British Giveaway now. You, of course, could win a year of rent-free paid by GB News, of course, or mortgage paid by GB News plus £5,000 in cash, or £15,000 if you don't have a mortgage or rent to pay. Here are the details.
This is your chance to live mortgage or rent-free for an entire year in the latest Great British Giveaway. That's right, we'll give you a cash lump sum that will cover 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, up to an incredible £20,000. Plus, we'll add £5,000 on top of that for you to treat yourself. And if you don't have a mortgage or rent to pay, lucky you, we'll give you £15,000 tax-free cash instead. You have to hurry though, as lines will close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up. Yes, the government has agreed a new migrants return deal with Iraq in its latest bid to stop the boats, but will it work?
Well, that's after the break. The bad news for the Chancellor keeps on flowing. Yes, inflation shoots up to 3.8%, almost double where it was when the general election was called. But why has the price of beef gone up by 25%?
Five hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record. You say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, it's 1:28. Welcome back. This is Good Afternoon Britain. Now, yes, inflation is risen once again, rising to 3.8% last month, which is higher than economists were expecting.
Well, it's up from 3.4% in May, 3.6% in June, now 3.8% in July. The Bank of England expects in September it will get up to 4%.
Goodness me, yes, we're going the wrong direction when it comes to inflation, and the Bank of England was suggesting, or economists suggesting, no more interest rate cuts for a while.
It's not good news for commuters either, who have a 5.8% train fare rise in the next year. But let's break it all down with Katherine Fer, who joins us in the studio. Bad news.
Bad news for the Chancellor, who's already in a very difficult position. Bad news for all of us. The cost of living crisis seems to be far from over, and I think it's worth reflecting on where inflation was when Labour came to power in July of last year. It was down at 2.2%, just a whisker above the Bank of England's 2% target, and now here we are at 3.8%. Now, it's been driven partly by airfares, also food prices up significantly. And of course, everybody, you don't have to get on a plane, but everyone has to eat food, especially lower income households. The biggest share of their money goes on foodstuffs, and food prices have rocketed in the last few years. Inflation as a whole is up 20% in the last 3 years. So the government really want working people to feel better off, but the cost of living crisis, it seems, for many, is just going on and on and on.
Now, this is, of course, feeding into the wider economic picture, where costs are going up for everyone across the board. We know that government spending demands have risen too. And there's this big black hole that the Chancellor has to fill come the autumn. She can't fill it with spending cuts because Parliament have voted against even the most meagre spending cuts that she was planning for the benefits bill. Where is the Chancellor going to find more money that will be demanded from so many other departments just to keep their spending level now?
Well, she said after the budget last year that she wouldn't be coming again for such a big tax-rising budget. There was 40 billion last year. But look, depending on what figures you believe, she has a fiscal black hole of between 20 and 50 billion. Yes, they have failed to get measures that would have saved a few billion through their own backbenchers. All sorts of potential property taxes now being floated. The Treasury will not comment, but we had yesterday the suggestion that stamp duty could be scrapped and a new national property tax brought in, that if they win again, which is obviously not guaranteed by any means, they might scrap council tax. And now today, a report in the Times, and I think this would be seismic if it happened, that the Treasury are contemplating removing the capital gains tax exemption that we all have on our primary residence, on our own home. Now, if they did that and you sold your house, you would then potentially be liable to pay capital gains tax at 24% if you are a higher rate taxpayer, or 18% if you are a lower rate taxpayer. So a massive deal if they had it. Now, how much money would it raise, given that you would imagine lots of people would simply think then, well, I am going to sit tight? And worth saying that Reform, of course, 4 years till the next election, but currently surging in the polls, may form the next government. They have already come out and said, look, if Reform come into government, we're going to reverse this. So bear that in mind when you're doing your calculations, because who in their right mind is going to sell their house if they don't have to?
Well, it looks like Labour are going after assets, or might be at least considering it. Very interesting. Katherine Fer, we'll have to leave it there, but really appreciate your time on that one. Doogie Beattie is actually in Benidorm to find out what people make of all this, the situation, the economy over here. And Doogie is joining us now.
Yeah. Doogie, it's inflation on the agenda today.
Well, it is, and I'm suffering for my profession. As always, for GB News, here I am, suffering in Benidorm at the Pablo Hotel, a really big family resort. And of course, inflation on food in particular was 18% 2 years ago at the start of the Ukraine war, mainly because of food security. And it didn't drop the price of food, it just stopped. People don't realise that inflation is the speed that food prices are rising. So they're now rising at 3.8% as opposed to 18%. They haven't dropped. And of course, I'm joined here by families, Brits that have came to Benidorm for a last-minute holiday just before the schools go back. This man's from Manchester, sir. How are you? When have you arrived?
Just a few hours ago. I'm not feeling sorry for myself. My mum's paid, obviously, for it, but prices have just ridiculous. It's so much cheaper here. But listen, Nigel Farage's going to be the next Prime Minister, so end of story. It doesn't matter, does it? We can say what we want. Nigel Farage's going to be the next Prime Minister, end of story.
But how will he cure the inflation?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't know. That's not my job, that's his job. Let him get on with it, and everything he says I love, and everything he says everyone loves, so let him do it and let him crack on with it.
Well, you have a small family here.
Yeah.
I mean, what price is your groceries?
A week, 300-400 quid a month. You're probably talking about £1,000 a month just on shopping if you want to feed 3 healthy big children. It's insanity. And then you can come here and, like I say, I'm not feeling sorry for myself. My mum's paid for this as a treat for us. We've not been abroad for ages, so that's fine. So we're very lucky in that respect, but I won't be able to do this on my own. So thanks, Mum. And but honestly, the bills have just gone through the roof. But Nigel, you're going to be the next Prime Minister, mate. Don't you worry about it. Absolutely 100%.
Thank you very much for that. We'll leave that with Farage, of course. But it is quite serious that, you know, people are paying upwardly £500, £600, £700 a month on groceries. They've seen those bills rise. And here in Benidorm, people enjoying themselves, trying to get a family holiday to get away before those school uniforms all have to be bought. We'll be back during the rest of the programme to find out more of what Brits are thinking.
Good stuff, Doogie. As you say, the toughest job in journalism as things stand. I'm not jealous at all of you just sunning yourself by the swimming pool.
Cracking tan Doogie's got. Yes, chap, you know, Mum's paying for holidays, you know, will it ever end, eh?
I say this, I'm actually...
You're going on holiday with your mum, but I hope you're paying.
With my mum.
You should be taking her.
I think I'll be taking her out for dinner, and I bought my own flights.
Oh, I hope so.
But we are staying in the same place, and that's yeah. Anyway.
Anyway, I hope you have a lovely time.
I hope I will.
This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up in today's show.
Every day, I wake up determined to deliver a better life for the people all across this nation. I am your voice.
Yes, Donald Trump has joined TikTok. But what does this mean for China-American relations? And will the app eventually be banned or moved?
But after the break, the government has agreed a new migrants returns deal with Iraq in its latest bid to stop the boats. But will we realistically see deportations back to that country?
Good afternoon. The headlines from the GB newsroom. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp has told Yvette Cooper that flats are sorely needed by young people as he called for assurances asylum seekers will not be moved from Epping's Bell Hotel into apartments. Councils across England are considering launching their own legal actions after a district council in Essex secured a High Court victory temporarily blocking asylum seekers from being housed at the Bell Hotel. UK inflation rose by more than expected in July. Consumer Prices Index inflation increased to 3.8% from 3.6% in June. The Kremlin has played down any talk of an imminent summit between the Russian president and Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky as Donald Trump renewed his call for the two leaders to discuss ending the war in Ukraine. And the Royal Mint has announced the final batch of Queen Elizabeth II's £1 coins are entering circulation across the UK. More than 23 million Queen coins are being released. Those are the latest headlines. For now, more from me in half an hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, very good day to you. I'm here with your GB News weather update from the Met Office. For many, it is going to be a fine rest of the day with some warm, sunny spells, but a breezier, cooler feel to things towards the North Sea. There is a front currently pushing its way southwards across parts of Wales and southern England, but it's not a particularly strong front, a fairly weak feature, just bringing a bit more cloud here and perhaps a few spots of drizzly rain for a little while. But it is going to be breaking up and clearing away, so some bright sunny spells developing even in the southwest and elsewhere across much of the country. It's a fine afternoon with some decent sunshine breaking through, and in the sunshine for most it's going to feel pretty warm, temperatures peaking in the low, possibly mid-20s, but a bit fresher towards the east and a bit of a breeze here adding to the cooler feel as well. Now as we go towards this evening, still perhaps a bit of cloud clinging on across some parts of Devon and Cornwall from that front, otherwise a mix of some sunny spells and some cloud that's bubbled up at times through the day. A similar story across parts of northern England, Northern Ireland and much of Scotland, albeit across Orkney and Shetland some showery bursts are quite likely, and a few of those showers may just about skirt into parts of mainland Scotland, the tip of Aberdeenshire for example, likely to see a couple of showers for a little while. Most places overnight away from the far northeast will have a dry story. A few showers may just about skirt into some parts of the far southeast, but like I say, most places having a dry night, a bit more cloud towards the east. Further west where we have clear skies, it could turn a little bit chilly. In fact, in some rural spots we could see temperatures dropping into low single figures, and so yes, a fresh chilly start for some of us first thing tomorrow. But then once the sun gets going, it is going to warm up again. Temperatures are going to be around average for most of us. Some decent sunshine on offer for many places, a bit more cloud towards some central and eastern parts, and still a bit of a breeze here, so a chillier feel for some, but for most in the sunshine feeling warm.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the A465 eastbound at Glynneath, roadworks have closed the on-slip and diversions are in place. In Cheshire East, an accident on the M6 northbound between junction 16 and 17 involves a vehicle leaving the carriageway, closing 2 lanes. Expect 50-minute delays. In Staffordshire, the A500 northbound is congested between the A34 and M6 junction 16, with 40-minute delays reported. Normal conditions should resume shortly. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and Northern Rail services face major disruptions around Wigan, North Western and Warrington areas. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's just gone 20 to 2. Now, in what could come up as a huge boost to its attempts to clamp down on illegal migration, the government has struck a returns deal with Iraq that will fast-track the removal of failed Iraqi asylum seekers and convicted Iraqi criminals. That's the crucial point.
That's the hope. Well, attempts to return Iraqis have been hampered in the past by asylum seekers claiming to have lost their ID, which appeals tribunals have frequently accepted makes their repatriation too dangerous. So will this change that?
Well, let's get the thoughts of the Life peer, now former Labour MP, Lord Walney. Thanks for joining us. This is a significant moment. I suppose this is what the government wanted to do from the start, really. Have all of these different deals so that they could deport people back to the countries from which they came. But I suppose there will be some of these deals they can make. They can't do this for every country in the world.
Possibly not, but yes, let's recognise this success where we can see it. Well done, Dan Jarvis. Well done, the government, for getting this in. This will make a significant difference. But of course, you are right to say that an agreement with any one country, indeed agreements with all countries, are an essential part of the process, but they are one part of this incredibly difficult puzzle that the government is faced with, that is affecting people's lives, of course, the lives of the asylum seekers themselves, but also, as we are seeing played out, of course, the communities who are having to house too many people at the moment.
these people from Iraq will be able to appeal any decision made, surely, and they'll be able to argue that Iraq isn't a safe country, or that their right to a family life will be impacted, or any of these sort of human rights arguments that we see foreign criminals making and others making. So will this genuinely have an impact?
Well, it will have a genuine impact, yes, but you are also right to say that those challenges will, of course, be made. And this is about setting an appropriate balance. And I am reluctantly, but now increasingly firmly of the view that the balance is not set correctly when making calculations of those kind for sending people back. Particularly the instances that we've had, we've had reported on over convicted criminals who haven't been sent back, despite them posing a clear danger to this country where they are. They've had too often judgments which have ruled that it was too dangerous for them to be sent to another country without properly taking into account the dangers for the people around them of keeping them in this country. Now, I think that is the balance which has to change. And I am concerned that the European Convention on Human Rights, certainly as it is interpreted, but potentially as it is written as a foundational text, does not allow that balance to be properly made, and therefore urgently needs to be reviewed and potentially changed because of this.
So you think that potentially the ECHR could be the stumbling block here? I mean, I wonder if there's something deeper, though. I mean, doesn't the 51 Convention on Refugees, isn't that the sort of governing principle when it comes to non-refoulement, which it seems to always be the stumbling block when it comes to this sort of stuff? The preclusion placed upon this country of moving anyone to a place where they might face danger.
That is part of it as well, but the matrix of laws that we have in place that are there for essential and laudable reasons, I fear are not fit for the very different situation that we are now in the 21st century, with this scale of movement, which I don't think was anticipated by previous generations who drew up those laws, and the determined, systematic nature which criminal gangs and individuals have to try to circumvent the asylum system by making use of those rules. So I think there are very few people who are saying that asylum seekers should have no rights, that there should be no regard to their safety when making resettlement decisions. But at the moment, the interpretation by many judges looking at this is that they feel they have to make an assessment solely based on the level of risk which that individual may be placed in by putting them somewhere else.
Absolutely. And Lord Warney, we're just running out of time.
To people around them.
We're just running out of time. So just wanted to ask, a lot of people getting in touch asking, what are Iraq getting in return for agreeing to this? And how much will this deal cost Britain? I mean, do we have any idea of that?
I don't think the government has released those figures, but always with these agreements, there is a cost. No country helps out another country for free. The British people, I think, are telling us that they want their government to sort this out, come what may. And of course, let's remember that there are incredibly high costs for housing asylum seekers for the amount of time that we are doing so, both in monetary terms, in billions of pounds of taxpayers' money being spent, but also, of course, the damaging cost of those communities. So I think most people looking at this would think that it is a good and worthwhile trade-off.
OK, well, Lord Warney, thank you very much indeed for your time this afternoon. Life peer and former Labour MP, yes. You've got to have a look at the terms and conditions of these types of deals, don't you? And I just can't see our country sending back loads of Iraqis to Iraq, can you? Despite this returns deal.
Live in hope.
There's lots of laws that get in the way.
Well, maybe you'd like to send yourself off somewhere. Perhaps not quite as far as Iraq. Here's the weather in Europe.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
For anyone heading further afield for a break over the next few days, it is going to be hot for southern parts of Spain, thundery through central Mediterranean and fairly breezy through Greece, especially around the islands, but less hot here compared with last week. Some hot sunshine in the south of Italy, very thundery through central and northern Italy, Croatia, the Alps as well. Plenty of fine weather for Iberia, staying breezy through the Canaries, and it stays similar across central Med through the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Farage, Monday to Thursday from 7 p.m.
You're going to have a lovely app. You can do everything online. You'll have, as a senior citizen, you'll have no problems with the NHS ever again. Isn't that wonderful?
Well, it would be if it were true, but as we got used to with this Labour government, if you scratch the surface a little bit, that the assertion that this is a plan for everyone is patently a nonsense, because if, like me, and the literally, no exaggeration, Nigel, hundreds of thousands of people like me who have either vascular dementia or Alzheimer's, any form of dementia, and there are several kinds, the app is simply not fit for purpose. First of all, you have to put in your email address, then you have to put in a password, and if you get it slightly wrong and think, oh, hang on a moment, it's not sausages and apples, it's carrots and cabbages, and you want to quickly change it so you can carry on, it's terribly complicated. And if you've got dementia, or if you're slightly older, but perhaps not with dementia, or just have a mental issue, sometimes you get digital problems, you get a letter wrong or a number in the wrong place, and you cannot get hold of the prescriptions you talk about, you cannot look at your appointments record, it's just inaccessible. And as far as the community hubs, or as you and I used to call them when we were growing up, cottage hospitals almost. That's great. We've got a brilliant GP surgery just down the road that has nurses, has a brilliant pharmacy, and looks after Sally and me extremely well. So I'm really pleased about that, and they're just a terrific team.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Well, here's a little story for you. It's 1:52. Neighbours of a Cotswold village church have been told by the church to chop down a sycamore tree or pay £70,000.
Yes, the owners say they received a threatening letter from the Diocese of Coventry claiming that the 250-year-old tree had caused damage to the vicarage.
Well, the couple involved say the irony is unbelievable. An organisation which is supposed to have pastoral care and love thy neighbour is doing such a thing. Not very Christian, they're suggesting this.
Hang on, though. I mean, OK...
250 years old, Tom.
The tree's on their land, right? But if it's damaging the vicarage, then the vicarage has a legal claim to say, well, stop damaging my property.
No, they've got the vicarage. They bought the vicarage.
Yes.
And then this tree is on the church's land.
Yes.
And then the church, they obviously...
So the church has the right to say, well, this tree... I mean, it might be knocking over a wall. We don't know exactly what it's doing, but it might be doing damage to a property. So, I mean, like...
No, it sits on their land. It's on their land. They're being told what to do with their own land because the church is angry.
Well, yes, but whilst a tree might be on someone's property, a root might be coming up through someone else's property, a branch might be going on to someone else's property. I mean, they wouldn't be making this claim if there weren't a legal case, surely.
Well, but do you think that a church should be able to just say, you need to knock that 250-year-old tree down because it's causing us a bit of damage?
I think there might be some sort of solution that we can find here where everyone is happy. Because there is a case in Denmark of a church that has taken a radical solution to a not too dissimilar problem. Yes, the famous Kyra Church in Sweden, is being moved to a new location to protect it from subsidence caused by mining in the region. This is incredible. It's taken them almost 9 years to organise this incredible move.
That's considered one of the most beautiful buildings in Sweden. God, we're blessed with our architecture, aren't we?
I'm not convinced that that's one of the most beautiful buildings, but it is incredible.
That's what we're being told.
They've lifted the church from its foundations and they're moving it to a new location. I mean, absolutely miraculous.
You'd do that with everything, wouldn't you? Just move it along. Anyway, we've come to the end of the hour.
Lots more to come, including more on that migrant crisis after the weather.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good day to you. I'm here with your GB News weather update from the Met Office. For many, it is going to be a fine rest of the day with some warm, sunny spells, but a breezier, cooler feel to things towards the North Sea. There is a front currently pushing its way southwards across parts of Wales and southern England, but it's not a particularly strong front, a fairly weak feature, just bringing a bit more cloud here and perhaps a few spots of drizzly rain for a little while. But it is going to be breaking up and clearing away, so some bright sunny spells developing even in the southwest and elsewhere across much of the country. It's a fine afternoon with some decent sunshine breaking through, and in the sunshine for most it's going to feel pretty warm, temperatures peaking in the low, possibly mid-20s, but a bit fresher towards the east and a bit of a breeze here adding to the cooler feel as well. Now as we go towards this evening, still perhaps a bit of cloud clinging on across some parts of Devon and Cornwall from that front, otherwise a mix of some sunny spells and some cloud that's bubbled up at times through the day. A similar story across parts of northern England, Northern Ireland and much of Scotland, albeit across Orkney and Shetland, some showery bursts are quite likely, and a few of those showers may just about skirt into parts of mainland Scotland, the tip of Aberdeenshire, for example, likely to see a couple of showers for a little while. Most places overnight away from the far northeast will have a dry story. A few showers may just about skirt into some parts of the far southeast, but like I say, most places having a dry night, a bit more cloud towards the east. Further west, where we have clear skies, it could turn a little bit chilly. In fact, in some rural spots, we could see temperatures dropping into low single figures. And so, yes, a fresh, chilly start for some of us first thing tomorrow. But then, once the sun gets going, it is going to warm up. Again, temperatures are going to be around average for most of us. Some decent sunshine on offer for many places, a bit more cloud towards some central and eastern parts, and still a bit of a breeze here, so a chillier feel for some, but for most in the sunshine, feeling warm.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you can win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com gbenews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is Britain's newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
only on GB News.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes.
For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK.
Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, you say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 2 o'clock on Wednesday, the 20th of August. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Emily Carver.
At the end of the day, we got a point to make, and we've made it. And we would have stayed here to as long as it have ever have taken to have got them out of here. They shouldn't be here in the first place.
Well, could councils across the country now mount their own legal challenges against the use of migrant hotels in their areas? This after the High Court ordered the closure of that hotel in Epping.
Well, unless the Home Office decide to appeal this injunction, they have 23 days, just over 3 weeks, until they have to move these asylum seekers out of the Bell Hotel.
Well, it's bad news for the Chancellor today as inflation, yes, shoots up to 3.8%. That's almost double where it was when Labour came into power. And why has the price of beef and veal gone up by 25%?
Elsewhere, the Metropolitan Police have banned their officers from dancing at Notting Hill Carnival. This is 7,000 bobbies brace for what could be another raucous weekend in the capital.
The heap would be about 3 feet higher than it is now, and it would fall to the door. So we've got a very, very reduced amount of grain due to the dry weather.
It's not looking good for British farmers this year. They were warned they could face one of the worst harvests on record, and now, as the combines roll in, we find out if those fears are becoming reality.
Every day, I wake up determined to deliver a better life for the people all across this nation. I am your voice.
He once blamed China for the China virus, but is he now going China viral himself? Yes, the Donald has entered the TikTok arena with his own account, branded by the White House. Has Donald Trump entered a new means of communication for 21st century politics?
Now, what do you think when you see the bobbies out there at Notting Hill Carnival having a jig?
The bobbies on the beats.
Bobbies on the beats. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, with a Z at the end.
Yeah. I don't think it's bad that they dance. I really don't. I think this is a community that attends the Notting Hill Carnival that has great scepticism towards the police. And I think if they can do something there that makes them seem less otherworldly, more friendly towards the community. And I'm talking specifically about the black community in London. Huge historical problems. They don't trust the police. Many of them won't necessarily follow orders of the police or will not even follow advice given by lawyers in terms of saying, like, plead guilty, and so they'll get harsher sentences because they'll claim innocence. All of these things that derive from a lack of trust. If trust can be built, then you start to melt away some of those problems.
I'm not sure if it's built on the back of dancing. I think that actually just makes them look a little, well, just weak, really. I'm not sure people necessarily respond to silliness, necessarily. Oh, I'm going to trust the police now. I'm going to go to them if I have a problem now. I'm going to listen to their orders now because they danced a little jig at the Notting Hill Carnival. I think, to be honest, if the event was non-eventful in terms of crime, I wouldn't really have a problem. But I think the problem is that we do, unfortunately, have stabbings. Of course, there's a lot of drug crime as well at these events. There have been fatalities in previous Notting Hill Carnivals. It's not a great look, is it?
Yeah,
great look, or are we just being miserable?
I don't think they should be dancing to the exclusion of doing police work.
Well, if there's sometimes they are. What was that woman doing, shaking her bum?
If there's someone... because there is knife crime at the Notting Hill Carnival. People do die, unfortunately, at the Notting Hill Carnival. So, yes, but there are 7,000 police officers there. We've seen... If one or two want to get involved in a dance at one moment or another, I don't think it's harmful. I think it might actually be helpful.
Well, unfortunately, we have seen... people, revellers, as you might call them, carnival goers, you know, grinding up against police officers, putting them in very uncomfortable positions. But anyway, let us know your thoughts, gbnews.com/your say. Perhaps you're actually going to the Notting Hill Carnival. Why not? Hey, see what it's all about.
And if so, that is just a truncheon. The policeman isn't pleased to see you.
Goodness me. Let's get to the headlines with Tatiana.
Good afternoon. The top stories. The Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp has told Yvette Cooper that flats are sorely needed by young people as he called for assurances asylum seekers will not be moved from Epping's Bell Hotel into apartments. Councils across England are considering launching their own legal actions after a district council in Essex secured a High Court victory, temporarily blocking asylum seekers from being housed at the Bell Hotel. Yesterday, a High Court judge ruled the hotel in Epping must stop housing asylum seekers by September the 12th. Reform UK leader Nigel Farage indicated the 12 councils where Reform UK was the largest party would consider legal challenges following the ruling. Chris Philp has called for an emergency cabinet meeting to establish plans for the deportation of all illegal immigrants upon arrival.
Well, the use of asylum hotels dropped considerably in the last 2 years of the last government. Illegal channel crossings went down by a third during our last full year in office. But what we've seen since the election is a record ever number of illegal immigrants cross the channel because Labour have lost control of our borders. Many councils, including Conservative councils, will be challenging the use of asylum hotels. Of course, it was a Conservative council, Epping, which successfully challenged the government because people don't want these hotels in the middle of their communities. But let's not forget, the reason these hotels are there in the first place is because this Labour government has lost control of our borders.
UK inflation rose by more than expected in July, according to official figures. The ONS says consumer prices index inflation increased to 3.8% in July from 3.6% in June. Transport was the biggest factor, particularly due to a spike in flight prices as families booked trips during the school summer holidays. Regulated train fares in England may increase by 5.8% next year. Parliamentary Secretary for the Treasury, Torsten Bell, spoke on the news.
Price rises are disappointing for everybody. We've seen energy prices come down in July, but they're still too high. That's why it's so important that we keep easing the cost of living, keep acting on that. That's why we're raising the minimum wage, it's why we're capping bus fares, it's why we're extending free school meals, and it's why the stability that's allowed 5 interest rate cuts since the election is so important.
Kneecap star Liam Moana has appeared in court today for allegedly supporting a proscribed terror organisation. Hundreds of supporters greeted the rapper with cheers as he made his way into court this morning. He's accused of displaying a flag in support of terror group Hezbollah at a gig in November last year. In response, the rap group described this move as a calculated political decision that they say was designed to try and portray support for Kneecap as somehow troublesome. A TV advert for Sanex shower gel, which showed black skin as cracked and white skin as smooth, has been banned for reinforcing a racial stereotype. The ad shows two models with dark skin. One has itchy skin and the other has dry skin, followed by a white woman with no skin problems. The Advertising Standards Authority upheld two complaints, which said the depiction of dark skin as dry, cracked and itchy could be interpreted as suggesting that white skin was superior to black skin. Sanex, though, says we take note of the ruling. Our advert was intended to highlight how our skin therapy range supports healthy skin across a variety of skin types. At Sanex, our mission is to champion skin health for all, which is portrayed across our brand communications. And Liverpool star Mohamed Salah has won a record third Professional Footballers Association Men's Player of the Year award, with Arsenal's Mariona Caldente collecting the women's accolade. The 33-year-old Egypt international scored 29 goals, provided 18 assists as the Reds stormed to the last season's Premier League title. Meanwhile, 29-year-old Caldente moved to Arsenal last summer, scored 19 goals in all competitions. And those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, more from me at 2:30.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Here's a quick snapshot of the markets. The pound buying you $1.3482 and €1.1571. The price of gold, £2,476.50 per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 9,247 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 9 minutes past 2. Now, councils across England are poised to take legal action to remove migrants from hotels in their areas. All of this coming, of course, after that High Court injunction was granted yesterday, stopping asylum seekers from being housed at the Bell Hotel in Epping.
Yes, it was unexpected and quite a dramatic evening it turned out to be yesterday. Huge amounts of celebration, really, outside that hotel. Nigel Farage was particularly jubilant as well. He's now pledged that all reform-led councils will do everything in their power to follow Epping's lead. Will it serve as some kind of template, Tom?
Well, it's difficult to say because the ruling presents the Home Office with a new headache. I mean, it could well have this domino effect, but they don't. They of course need to find new accommodation for migrants who were at the Bell Hotel in the first place. And it might take time to try and conjure up some other form of accommodation.
Yeah, I can't imagine these guys out there, just looking at the people who are protesting out there, will be particularly happy if all that happens is the people who were in the Epping Hotel are moved into cramped accommodation in the town. Instead. Or does that change things? Is it about the hotel or is it about the people?
Or a different hotel in a different town. I mean, clearly the problem is always going to persist as long as we have record numbers coming across the channel.
Yeah, well, we're joined by GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White, live in Epping. Mark, what's the latest? We're hearing that other councils may well follow suit. Will this provide a template for them?
Well, we certainly heard that one council, Broxbourne Council in Hertfordshire, is going to follow suit and try for an injunction to ban a hotel in its local authority area being used as an asylum seeker hotel. And Nigel Farage has instructed the 10 councils that Reform is in control of to do likewise. So we could see a raft of similar court injunctions being sought by local authorities right across the country. One is bad enough for the government at a time when obviously they're trying to end the use of migrant hotels. They're looking instead at dispersal accommodation in communities around the country. But it's difficult trying to get a hold of that, trying to make spaces available. They've been aided, I guess, this week by the fact that we've had quite windy weather in the Channel, so no crossings. So not the usual sort of pile-up of people at the Manston base in Kent, where migrants are processed and then sent off to locations like this. And we don't think there'll be any crossings of note until at least next Monday. So that's a bit of respite for the government, but you know that's only ever going to be short-lived. You can't base your whole immigration policy on praying for bad weather in the Channel. So they need to come up with something that is more long-lasting. And certainly there are growing calls for the government to try to consider the issue of more purpose-built or specially designed migrant camps, more austere conditions, but still, you know, legal in terms of the conditions that people would be housed under, but would be cheaper, would act perhaps as a bit of a disincentive to those coming across the Channel, and would get away from this issue of foisting these people on communities that don't want them. And they don't want them in migrant hotels. They certainly don't want them in houses of multiple occupation, flats, council houses up and down the country that are then taken out of use for local people.
Mark White, thank you very much indeed. Great to speak to you today. There's Mark outside the Bell Hotel, the epicentre.
Let's speak to the Labour councillor in Lambeth, member of Momentum's NCG2, Martin Abrams. Martin, thanks for joining us. This is...
Good afternoon, Tom. Good afternoon, Emily.
A real challenge for the government here, because we're going to probably see many more councils now trying to shut down the hotels in their areas and having a pretty good shot at doing that through the High Court.
Well, it's hugely embarrassing for the government, you're right, Tom, because they've obviously not done all the legal checks and balances around the planning issues that councils can ultimately then take to court. As I understand it, this injunction was based upon a change of use policy for the hotel, which other councils then might follow suit. So, I mean, it is a huge issue, and one that is not going to be solved overnight by any stretch of the imagination. Let's be clear what this is, what is happening here. Okay, this is a Tory-made crisis. After 15 years of the Tory party, who basically refused to build any council housing over the course of that 15 years. I think you could probably count it on one hand, the amount of council houses that the Tory party built. They continue to pursue with this disastrous right to buy policy, where all the council housing stock has been sold off. And one of the biggest issues in this country at the moment is the housing emergency.
Martin, we've got some of the highest level of council housing in the OECD. We're amongst the top five for share of housing. We have some of the highest levels of council housing. You're right to say that it used to be higher, but my goodness me, we have, compared to many other countries that don't see these sort of housing problems, a very, very high level of council housing still.
Tom, I'm a councillor in Lambeth. We've got 45,000 people on the council housing waiting list. That's one of 33 boroughs in London. Okay, that's one of hundreds of councils across the UK. There is a housing emergency at the moment.
There is, Martin, but what I'm trying to say on this issue is that other countries solve this crisis not by trying to put ever more people in state-subsidised housing, but by allowing the market to build more housing so fewer people need to be on those waiting lists in the first place.
Well, listen, these migrants, these people claiming asylum, they need to be housed somewhere. I know that you believe that they should be deported immediately, but in reality, Tom, that is not going to happen under a Labour government.
So, Martin, you think
they're not going to change the ECHR under a Labour government? So you've got at least 4 years where there needs to be a humane migration and housing policy for these people that have often come from horrific conditions. And let's be clear, 70% of the migrants that have come to the UK in the last 20 years are from countries that we've either previously colonised or invaded or gone to war with.
Okay.
So
if you were in charge, Martin, you'd put all the people who cross in boats to this country, you'd put them up in council housing, in social housing.
Well, no, because there isn't any council housing.
No, but if you could, I'm saying, in an ideal world, do you think that would be fair on the British taxpayer to put people who've come over on boats, waiting for their claims to be heard, to put them straight into social housing?
But if in an ideal world, there'd be housing for everyone. There wouldn't be a homelessness crisis. There wouldn't be a housing crisis. You know, there wouldn't be, you know, a migrant hotel crisis, if you want to call it that. You know, these migrants should never have been housed in.
But hang on, your only solution has been to build more social housing. So I'm just asking you, is that where you would preferably keep them?
I mean, if there was enough social housing, which if I would have been Prime Minister over the last 50 years, I would have built millions of council houses like we did in the 1950s.
And with things how they are, would you prioritise British residents or would you prioritise people who've come over on boats? Because you're saying there's a massive waiting list where you are. So who gets priority in your view?
I would prioritise people on their need.
OK, so doesn't matter.
That's how councils have worked for decades.
So for you, nationality. So for you,
people on their need.
OK, so a man who's come over the Channel on a small boat, would they be of high need?
Over a British, you know, family of 5. That's not the case. OK, they'll be prioritised on need and banding, as all councils do. And mostly do in a very, very free and fair way.
But we do see with these prioritisations, if a family of 5 is crammed into a 2-bedroom house, I mean, councils can say, well, you know what, you've got a roof over your head. This asylum seeker doesn't have a roof over his head. Let's give him the property. We do sometimes see those decisions from councils.
Tom, this is one of the reasons why there is so much anger out there at the moment, OK? The number one piece of casework in my inbox is housing, OK? I see horrific situations of people's housing situation every single day. People living in HMOs, families living in HMOs, damp, mouldy. It's disgraceful. This is a result of 40 years of neoliberalism where Margaret Thatcher decided that right to buy was the way to go, selling off all our council housing stock, not rebuilding it. That has massively pushed up the price of housing across the UK.
What's pushed up the price of housing isn't the level of council housing, it's the level of housing in general. We've built less than the average European country, not over the last 40 years, over the last 80 years.
Well, I know, and that's successive government's categorical failure.
OK.
We need to be built.
I'm glad we can both agree that all governments have failed on this issue. Martin, we're going to have to leave it there. But it's a vast topic, and we hope we'll have you back soon. Martin Abrams, a Lambeth councillor there.
Yeah, some might say that obviously immigration has put further pressure on our housing market. In response to this ruling, though, the High Court ruling, Border Security Minister Dame Angela Eagle said the government will continue working with local authorities and communities to address legitimate concerns, and work continues to close all asylum hotels by the end of this Parliament.
Well, the Home Office has also expressed some concern at the Bell Hotel in Junction, claiming it runs the risk of acting as a further impetus for further violent protests. OK, well, in other news, flag wars appear to have erupted across the country after some councils ordered the tearing down of Union Jack flags. Well, the most recent move, York City Council has now confirmed to GB News that they've removed England and Union flags put up by members of the public on a stretch of road in the city.
Right, well, Charlie Peters has the story for us and he joins us now. Charlie, why would they take down the flags?
Well, a spokesperson from York City Council told me just in the last hour or so that they had one exception to the flags being put up, and that's in a stretch of road near the city's racecourse. They say due to upcoming high-profile events, they don't want any England or Union flags in that area. There are a few other flags lying around of people's private properties in that space, but the England flags that had been put up by Flag Force UK and one of their representatives on the channel this morning, Joseph Moulton, they've now been taken down. A cherry picker from the council's local, I don't know, how do you call it? Resources was out in force.
Cherry picker owned by the council.
From its local fleet. That's the word I was looking for. So
that's very militaristic.
Well, you know, they're doing an operation, aren't they?
Does York City Council have a fleet of cherry pickers?
Apparently,
I'm sure a lot of people in York will be concerned at the state of the roads in York, at the potholes, at how often the bins are collected. I'm sure a lot of people will be raising a question mark over what is it about this event that means there can't be some flags on some lampposts ahead of it?
Well, we're not sure, but we do know that City Council don't want those flags there. They said there is a proper process for requesting banners, signs or flags to be added to lampposts. They told me that they were concerned that they were very dangerous. Scaling a lamppost with a ladder, they said, puts you at risk directly. Not only that, it can also be dangerous for people walking or using the road too.
OK.
But they did say they had no plans to remove flags that had been put up recently by members of the public. They said this was just the one exception. We'll see if that's the case. But that's now the third council that's confirmed it's removed England and Union flags as part of this recent trend from Operation Raise the Colours, as it's being termed online.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie, if I was head of the council, I'm not sure I'd want to go to war with the flag. Really?
Well,
driving into Epping yesterday, the roundabout has flags on the lampposts, and it just looks nice, doesn't it? It doesn't look horrible.
But also, these people who are
dangerous anyway.
They're also going around picking up litter. They're doing sort of community things.
And well, the council said that they welcome the call for community volunteers and litter pickers. But they said that they can best coordinate this effort and supply appropriate commitment, perhaps from their fleet of resources and training. If residents contact us via environment and community at york.gov.uk.
You need a licence to pick up litter now. You can't just do things.
Well, I think that it's highly likely this is not going to restrict the activities of Flag Force UK. They seemed highly motivated when we had their organiser on the programme this morning. And they've got thousands of pounds in donations to buy more flags to refill their flag-raising coffers.
Charlie Peters, thanks indeed for bringing that to us. We should say in a statement the council has said it has serious concerns about the safety of people putting up flags. Scaling a lamppost with a ladder puts you at risk directly, but it can also be dangerous for people walking or using the road too, as Charlie was telling us earlier.
Yes, he added that the council had a proper process for requesting banners, signs on flags to be added to lampposts safely. OK, we've all got to be very safe about our flags.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more to come. The Metropolitan Police have banned their officers from dancing at the Notting Hill Carnival as 7,000 bobbies brace for what could be a raucous weekend in the capital. But after the break...
The heap would be about 3 feet higher than it is now, and it would fall to the door. So we've got a very, very reduced amount of grain due to the dry weather.
Yes, British farmers were warned that they could face one of the worst harvests on record, and now, as the combines roll in, we'll find out if those fears have sadly become a reality.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 27 minutes past 2, and a concerning piece of news for students of revolutionary history. Yes, summer harvests across the country are starting to come to an end, but long, dry spells of weather has meant many yields are well below average.
Right, OK.
Well, yeah, every revolution starts with a bad harvest.
It does.
French Revolution, the revolutions of 1848.
It does.
I mean, the Russian Revolution, all of this stuff. If you have a bad harvest, you've got a revolution. It's as night follows day.
Yes, but as you'll tell us, we have, other ways of getting food these days, don't we?
Maybe that might be where this theory falls down.
Well, I don't know. You never know. Jeremy Clarkson might start a revolution. He's very angry about this. He's called it catastrophic. He said the costs facing growers mean they don't know whether they're going to survive.
Well, let's get the thoughts now of dairy, beef and arable farmer Charles Godby. Charles, just how bad has the harvest been this year? Is this going to mean higher prices for everyone?
The harvest has been a disaster, let's be honest. I would say across our whole enterprise, we're probably around about 30% plus down on yields. That's going to hit our bottom line massively. But strangely, at the minute, the commodity prices, what we're trading at the minute, aren't great. So you'd expect when yields are low, prices would be up. But at the minute, we're not seeing that because our prices are still being dictated by world markets, by events that aren't happening in this country, by production standards that don't meet our standards, and yet we're having to abide by their prices. Interestingly, I'd say where you're talking about the revolution as well, I was reading something quite recently where I think it's 40% of scientists and experts believe that we're going to see civil unrest in this country in the next 10 years because of food prices.
Wow.
Well, I mean, it is. I mean, everyone's noticed, haven't they? The price of their food shop is just extraordinary. We were talking a little bit earlier about how beef has gone up by 25% in the shops in just a year, and people like their beef in this country, as you'll well know, as a beef farmer. But you say your yield has gone down 30%, the harvest. How does that compare to other years? Is this the worst in many, many years?
This is certainly probably the worst that I've seen in my memory anyway, yes. And we could see a knock-on yet into the following year. So really, we should have seen our oilseed rape, and our grass seeds probably should be in the ground by now. But what's the point in planting crops into a dust bowl? They need the moisture, and we've not got that in the soil at the minute. The risk is if we plant and we get a little bit of rain, them seeds are going to germinate, they'll just start to come through, and then they're going to be burnt off, and it'll be a disaster again.
Yeah. You need consistent rain rather than just sort of another long heat wave. And people are predicting that there could be another heat wave yet in September. So I guess it's a really difficult thing to sort of guess about. While we've been enjoying the long stretches of sunshine, I guess the farmers have been thinking, goodness me, can we please have a little bit more rain?
Absolutely. We've already rejuggled our planting plans for this year. It's a question a lot of people have pulled out of growing some crops like oilseed rape, which really ought to have been in the ground by now, and looking at alternatives. With the wheat, we've probably got another month yet on our farm before we really decide, have we really got to go for it, or have we got to start thinking about spring cropping or later cropping? But I mean, that has consequences as well, that it's going to reduce yield.
Yeah.
You don't want to make the wrong decision.
Got to say, bovine TB has been having a comeback as well. I hope your farm has been relatively unaffected. But just how much of an imposition is it for farmers that they're not allowed to shoot badgers and to sort of keep the vectors of disease transmission away? I know that so many farms have been struggling with this.
It's absolutely ridiculous. So we're very fortunate where we are. We're right on the edge of TB areas. We remain clear at the minute, touch wood. But even when we're testing, you have a week of sleepless nights. You're just absolutely petrified of seeing that one result that gives you utter disaster. But you also have to think not just from the farming perspective. So for me, for my cattle, and it's a massive hit for the farmer and for our bottom line. But actually, our cattle aren't suffering. When we see it, they're going to slaughter, and many of our animals will be going to slaughter before TB becomes prevalent and you see the effects of the disease. You take the wildlife, though, the badgers, the deer, we're letting this horrific disease pool grow out in our wildlife. We're not controlling it, and we're just condemning them to a slow, horrible, painful death. Something's got to be done for farmers and for wildlife alike.
Absolutely. Charles, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy man, and I do hope the conditions improve. And I better harvest next year as well. Fingers crossed.
Keep singing in the shower.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep doing that. Praying for rain. Charles Govey, thank you very much. Dairy beef and arable farmer there in Warwickshire.
It's such a point. When people campaign against the badger cull, or controlling the badger population for TB, what they're actually doing is campaigning to spread TB amongst all the wildlife, including the badgers.
Yeah, there's those strange people who dress up as badgers outside the Environment Ministry.
Yeah, no, not good. I mean, farmers need to be able to control their patch. Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain. Lots more coming up on today's programme.
Every day, I wake up determined to deliver a better life for the people all across this nation. I am your voice.
Yes, the Donald has joined the talk. Should it be Trump talk? Well, we'll be discussing that later.
We will indeed. He's back, baby. And after the break, the Metropolitan Police have banned their officers from doing things like this. Yes, dancing and wiggling their bottoms at Notting Hill Carnival. 7,000 coppers are braced for what could be, well, it could be another raucous weekend in the capital. All of that after your headlines.
Emily, thank you. The top stories: councils across England are considering launching their own legal actions after a district council in Essex secured a High Court victory temporarily blocking asylum seekers from being housed at the Bell Hotel. UK inflation rose by more than expected in July. Consumer prices index inflation increased to 3.8% from 3.6% in June. Kneecap star Liam Moana has appeared in court for allegedly supporting a proscribed terror organisation. His defence team argues the case should be thrown out, citing a technical error in the way the charge was brought against him. He's accused of displaying a flag in support of Hezbollah at a gig in November last year. Moana denies the charge. And the Royal Mint has announced the final batch of Queen Elizabeth II's £1 coins are entering circulation across the UK. More than 23 million are being released. Those are the latest headlines for now. More news at 3 o'clock with Sam.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, very good day to you. I'm here with your GB News weather update from the Met Office. For many, it is going to be a fine rest of the day with some warm, sunny spells, but a breezier, cooler feel to things towards the North Sea. There is a front currently pushing its way southwards across parts of Wales and southern England, but it's not a particularly strong front, a fairly weak feature, just bringing a bit more cloud here and perhaps a few spots of drizzly rain for a little while. But it is going to be breaking up and clearing away, so some bright sunny spells developing even in the southwest and elsewhere across much of the country. It's a fine afternoon with some decent sunshine breaking through. And in the sunshine, for most, it's going to feel pretty warm. Temperatures peaking in the low, possibly mid-20s, but a bit fresher towards the east and a bit of a breeze here adding to the cooler feel as well. Now, as we go towards this evening, still perhaps a bit of cloud clinging on across some parts of Devon and Cornwall from that front. Otherwise, a mix of some sunny spells and some cloud that's bubbled up at times through the day. A similar story across parts of Northern England, Northern Ireland and much of Scotland, albeit across Orkney and Shetland, some showery bursts are quite likely, and a few of those showers may just about skirt into parts of mainland Scotland, the tip of Aberdeenshire, for example, likely to see a couple of showers for a little while. Most places overnight away from the far northeast will have a dry story. A few showers may just about skirt into some parts of the far southeast, but like I say, most places having a dry night, a bit more cloud towards the east. Further further west, where we have clear skies, it could turn a little bit chilly. In fact, in some rural spots, we could see temperatures dropping into low single figures. And so, yes, a fresh, chilly start for some of us first thing tomorrow. But then, once the sun gets going, it is going to warm up. Again, temperatures are going to be around average for most of us. Some decent sunshine on offer for many places, a bit more cloud towards some central and eastern parts, and still a bit of a breeze here, so a chillier feel for some, but for most in the sunshine, feeling warm.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. In Cheshire East, expect a 50-minute delay due to congestion on the M6 northbound between junctions 15 and 16. Roadworks on the A465 eastbound at Glynneath have caused on-slip closure, with diversions for drivers. A broken-down vehicle on the M25 anti-clockwise at junction 2 in Kent is causing disruptions, with 2 of 4 lanes closed. In Staffordshire, commuters using the A500 northbound face a 30-minute delay between the A34 and M6 junction 16. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and Northern report major disruptions in the Wigan northwestern area. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 38 minutes past 2. Now, top bosses have banned police officers from dancing at Notting Hill Carnival. Yes, 7,000 officers will be bracing for what could be another raucous weekend.
It's quite incredible. 7,000 officers just for one carnival, one event. Anyway, the Met Police say grooving to the music, like this woman has done, this female police officer, she's really getting down low, isn't she? The Met Police have said grooving to the music could distract or slow down their officers from responding to outbreaks of crime. This guy doing some body-locking popping.
Well, it all comes as 349 people were detained last year, including some for violence, theft, sexual offences and assaults on the police.
Right, well, we're joined by the leader of the Conservatives at the London Assembly, Susan Hall, who's spoken out quite a bit about the carnival. You want it to be a ticketed event, don't you, perhaps in Hyde Park? But what about this advice given, or at least these orders coming from the Metropolitan Police, that officers should not be dancing? Is this a new request?
I assume so, and I was watching you earlier, and Emily, I'm afraid I agree with you and not with you, Tom. I think you're quite right, Emily. They should not be dancing. I think it damages their authority. I mean, I was livid when they all started taking the knee as well. I thought that was completely wrong. They should work, what was it, the term, without fear or favour to anybody. And I think getting involved with twerking and grinding and all these other frightful things that happen in the carnival is not that. They're there
Surely, Susan, there's a happy medium between doing the Miley Cyrus twerking sort of thing and being a beefeater who has to be completely stony-faced, sort of immovable and unjoyous. I mean, surely the traditional form of policing, the Bobby on the beat, friendly neighbourhood police officer having a little dance, I mean, that could be actually something that goes a long way to help community relations.
Well, clearly it doesn't, does it? Otherwise there wouldn't have been 37 assaults on emergency workers last year. There's more and more arrests every single year. So it clearly, that doesn't happen. And they are very friendly. I was at the Canary Wharf demonstration on Sunday, and I always go up and talk to police officers, and they are always very, very pleasant, but they're standing there doing a proper job. And that's what they should do at the carnival, in my view. The minute they start dancing, then you've seen what happens. People come up to them and all sorts of things happen. Then that's all over the television. We want our police standing there doing a job. And it can get very, very nasty for them at the carnival, as we've all seen.
I imagine it's also harder to revert back to serious police officer when you've been filmed for the last 10 minutes dancing and twerking and shaking your bottom like this female officer. I mean, part of me, Susan, I must admit, part of me thinks, you know, they're having a little bit of fun, whatever. But then I return to the fact that this is a carnival that unfortunately has had a lot of crime associated with it, and I do think that police officers should be feared.
Well, certainly respected.
Yeah,
and
certainly
that chap
respected,
doing
yeah.
some wonderful moves there, I'll give him that. If he then suddenly sees somebody doing something wrong and goes to arrest them, they're not going to take them seriously. I mean, look at that one you've just come away from. You know, I feel sorry
It's a
for the
daytime
officers.
show, Susan.
You've hit the nail on the head there, yes. And some of the things that happen to the police officers, and they get themselves into a right old state when they sort of go towards it as if to just do a bit of a dance, and then suddenly they get all that sort of behaviour around them. They're better off just doing their job. Yeah, you see, look at that.
Right, so is there not? I'm still searching for some middle ground here. I just don't like the idea.
You like a smiley officer, basically.
I don't like the idea of a ban. Of the idea that in no circumstance could a police officer join in for a little jiggle. I mean, I don't know. Is there something a bit too heavy-handed about this Metropolitan Police advice here? Surely there should be maybe individual assessment done. The police officer on the beat knows what's appropriate and where.
Well,
people will know when it's a bit hairier and when it's a sort of time to actually get to know the community, do the traditional Bobby on the beat stuff.
The Bobby on the beat stuff's great for neighbourhood policing, and it really works. And if you're at a country fair with a load of Morris dancers, yeah, that might work. Notting Hill Carnival is not the place, I'm afraid, because anybody that's ever been knows that the atmosphere can suddenly change, and suddenly you're in a completely different environment. That I think it's good advice that they shouldn't be dancing, and I'm pleased to see none of them take the knee anymore.
Susan, sorry to interrupt, just while we've got you here, you said you were outside the Britannia Hotel taking part in one of the protests outside there. Your thoughts just on the High Court ruling overnight that we've seen that the Epping Hotel is going to be shut down to migrants. Just your response, really.
Well, good for those mums that are out there that are genuinely worried about their kids. They're not far-right activists. They're parents who are worried about their children, and good on them. And I hope lots of other councils do. And I did see one of your guests at a late-night programme last night suggesting that maybe all these hotels should go to areas run by the Greens, because the Greens seem to think we should put them up everywhere. So if constituents have voted for Greens, then let them have all those hotels in their areas.
Well, it's true, the Greens do advocate for a very liberal immigration policy. So, Susan Hall, thank you very much, Leader of the Conservatives at the London Assembly. Let us know your thoughts on the whole dancing coppers, dancing bobbies.
Yeah.
Some people are saying you've gone woke, Tom, but then they say that a lot, to be fair.
Look, dancing...
You're being ridiculous.
Isn't there a traditional song about the dancing policeman?
I don't know, is there? I think it'd be fine if there was no crime, or there was very little crime at this event, but unfortunately there is.
I think everyone's just gone a bit too po-faced on this one.
Well, Nicholas says, I think I'd rather deal with a human being than a draconian lizard.
I'm not
perhaps
saying...
that's advocating for dancing?
I'm not saying all 7,000 should be dancing.
Just one or two?
If one or two, I mean, if you're sort of around there, there's sort of that...
How can you then suddenly go into arrest mode?
Well, I don't think one officer can ever go into arrest mode at an event like that. You would need a whole team. And you would never want to be in a situation where the entire team is dancing.
No. You need to have some people looking out. I mean, we are paying their wages. Anyway, time for the Great British Giveaway. Yes, you've got just 2 weeks left to live mortgage or rent-free for an entire year, plus £5,000 cash, or if you're mortgage-free already, then £15,000 as just a lump sum. Here you go.
This is your chance to live mortgage or rent-free for an entire year in the latest Great British Giveaway. That's right, we'll give you a cash lump sum that will cover 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, up to an incredible £20,000. Plus, we'll add £5,000 on top of that for you to treat yourself. And if you don't have a mortgage or rent to pay, lucky you, we'll give you £15,000 tax-free cash instead. You have to hurry though, as lines will close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
going mad. Tom was just doing some very weird impressions.
No. This is only behind the scenes for GB News members. No. So this is premium content. What was going on?
I'm gonna miss
what was
this,
going on
Tom.
in the break?
I'm gonna miss what happens in the break. Anyway, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the travel weather.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
For anyone heading further afield for a break over the next few days, it is going to be hot for southern parts of Spain, thundery through central Mediterranean and fairly breezy through Greece, especially around the islands, but less hot here compared with last week. Some hot sunshine in the south of Italy. Very thundery through central and northern Italy, Croatia, the Alps as well. Plenty of fine weather for Iberia, staying breezy through the Canaries, and it stays similar across central Med through the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, just like week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's just gone 10 to 3. Now, despite the fact that it's still due to be banned in the United States in a few weeks, although a few people expect that to actually happen, the United States President Donald Trump has joined TikTok.
Every day, I wake up determined to deliver a better life for the people all across this nation. I am your voice.
Yes, is he what?
Your voice.
Is he your voice? Well, he wants to be your voice, doesn't he?
Can you do a Donald Trump voice?
No, but I can do a Donald Trump dance.
Oh, very good.
Yes. I mean, we're not looking at me at the moment, so I can't show you.
No,
but,
we'll save that up.
TikTok is controversial, yes, in the United States. Accusations by the FBI that it could be used by China to harvest data, sow division among Americans. But Mr. Trump has launched his TikTok career. And it's a good place to win over voters.
Certainly is. Of course, before the election. Or was it just after the election when TikTok sent a push notification to all users in America saying thanks to Donald Trump who saved TikTok, because there's been a long saga after Congress passed this act to not repatriate, but I suppose patriate TikTok and move its servers and move its leadership to the United States, else ban it. But Trump seemed to put a stop to that. Still negotiations going on there. But it is interesting, sort of on both sides of the political spectrum. You do have different sides to TikTok. I was actually in Parliament last week, and you can't use TikTok in Parliament. They've blocked it on the Wi-Fi.
But they're all on it anyway, aren't they? All the ministers and all the MPs. And I think it's had a lot to do with Nigel Farage's success among young men and boys, actually. I think the TikTok effect. Effect.
It is a remarkable way.
A lot of people see us on TikTok.
It's a remarkable way. Do you know what? Anyone under the age of 30 will say, I've seen you on TikTok, whereas older people will say, I've seen you on the TV.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting dichotomy. If you want to reach anyone under the age of 30, TikTok's the place to be.
And you can watch this show on TikTok. We're live on TikTok as we speak.
Perhaps you are watching this on TikTok as we speak. Who knows?
Maybe.
Who knows? Through the magic of television.
Let us know if you are.
But that's it from us today. Up next, it's Martin Daubney. Martin, are you on TikTok?
And I never will be. Total waste of time. The last thing I need in my life is yet more apps. What a show we got for you today. Hotel emergency. We've got councillors queuing up to be the next Epping. I'll be joined by two of them in the studio, plus an MP. Asylum seekers, winners and losers. Thousands of asylum seekers have been shoved around the country by Keir Starmer since getting into power. Who are the winners? Who are the losers? And how many are in those constituencies of the Refugees Welcome Brigade? We'll have the full inside skinny on that. Plus, a whistleblower parent has sent to GBNews an astonishing poster which they claim normalises and justifies Islamic jihad in our classrooms, all our schools, trying to brainwash our children into the normalisation of extremism in the Islamic faith. That's all coming on the show 3 till 6. Plus, I'll have an exclusive peek at the new Reform FC football shirt. See you soon.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good day to you. I'm here with your GB News weather update from the Met Office. For many, it is going to be a fine rest of the day with some warm, sunny spells, but a breezier, cooler feel to things towards the North Sea. There is a front currently pushing its way southwards across parts of Wales and southern England, but it's not a particularly strong front, a fairly weak feature, just bringing a bit more cloud here and perhaps a few spots of drizzly rain for a little while. But it is going to be breaking up and clearing away, so some bright sunny spells developing even in the southwest and elsewhere across much of the country. It's a fine afternoon with some decent sunshine breaking through. And in the sunshine, for most, it's going to feel pretty warm. Temperatures peaking in the low, possibly mid-20s, but a bit fresher towards the east and a bit of a breeze here adding to the cooler feel as well. Now, as we go towards this evening, still perhaps a bit of cloud clinging on across some parts of Devon and Cornwall from that front. Otherwise, a mix of some sunny spells and some cloud that's bubbled up at times through the day. A similar story across parts of northern England, Northern Ireland and much of Scotland, albeit across Orkney and Shetland, some showery bursts are quite likely, and a few of those showers may just about skirt into parts of mainland Scotland, the tip of Aberdeenshire, for example, likely to see a couple of showers for a little while. Most places overnight away from the far northeast will have a dry story. A few showers may just about skirt into some parts of the far southeast, but like I say, most places having a dry night, a bit more cloud towards the east. Further west, where we have clear skies, it could turn a little bit chilly. In fact, in some rural spots, we could see temperatures dropping into low single figures. And so, yes, a fresh, chilly start for some of us first thing tomorrow. But then, once the sun gets going, it is going to warm up. Again, temperatures are going to be around average for most of us. Some decent sunshine on offer for many places, a bit more cloud towards some central and eastern parts, and still a bit of a breeze here, so a chillier feel for some, but for most in the sunshine, feeling warm.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
What does it feel like to be a Great British Giveaway winner?
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God, I'm going to cry.
Do you know what? I've never won anything like this in my life.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
That is absolutely fantastic.
We're over the moon.
Yes, that is fantastic.
You know, you have no idea how much I needed it. Oh my goodness.
You've won £54,321.
Please don't joke. This would change my life.
Oh, thank you so much. I was gobsmacked. Thank you, GB News.
I'd say don't hesitate, do it. If you're not in it, you've got no chance of winning it.
Thank you.
You weren't expecting to get that call today, were you?
No, I wasn't.
You really could be our next big winner. Head over to gbnews.com/win now to find out how and get your entry for the Great British Giveaway. Great prizes